Hello and welcome to the MinnMax show. I'm Ben Hanson, joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello.
And then two other people. Kyle, who are these lovely people?
Ashley and Devin?
Hey, good job.
Yes, remember the names.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, thanks for being here. You are all with Team Rokkr, Call of Duty's Minnesota's professional Call of Duty team.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So the Call of Duty League just started this year. Actually, the first event happened here in Minneapolis at the Armory, and it was awesome. And we've officially brought eSports and Call of Duty to Minnesota, so we're stoked.
Yeah, it's very fun. I like listening to your podcast. It's really surreal, like listening to your podcast about building out Team Rokkr and like going through the trouble of like, okay, we need a logo that's a little bit Minnesota, but not too Minnesota. And it's like, oh, that's the MinnMax struggle right now of like going through a visual overhaul because we're going to like reboot our stuff soon. So it's very fun to listen to.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely like, I mean, we obviously have great ownership and investment right away, but, you know, we are a startup. We're building this whole thing as we're going, and it's been a really cool journey so far.
Honestly, things have been moving fast, too. I'm not
Isn't
going to
it?
lie.
Like, think
really
about,
fast. Like, I've been blinking and things have just been happening.
Yeah.
What kind of things? What do you mean?
Like, I feel like it was just a couple months ago I visited the facility, and it was just like there was no furniture. It was still being built and everything. And like these last couple weeks, you can walk in there and it looks like a whole actual gaming facility.
Yeah.
It's just nice to think about and see how everything started, and then things just
You're watching it grow in real time, right?
Yeah. It all happened a lot faster than I expected.
Yeah, it's wild. On our YouTube channel, we have like a tour kind of showing off because you guys had a lot of press there to kind of walk folks through. I felt so bad for you having to give the spiel over and over again about eSports, it's a little bit like real sports. You guys said that like so many times, like, this media, it must be so frustrating to have to deliver that message over and over and over again.
It was a lot of media the week before the event, which me and Brett Diamond were doing a lot of that, but and some of our players as well. But I actually don't mind it because I really like telling people about this new cool thing that I'm so passionate about. I've been in this community for 10 years playing Call of Duty in the esports community, so getting to tell new people about it, although it is a little redundant because I would say a lot of the same catchphrases, like it was still like exciting to share with people.
Yeah, I love you call them catchphrases.
Yeah, I mean, it was because I would basically, because I'm trying to think of a way to like boil it down. Like, how do you boil it down for somebody? So you just would end up saying a lot of the same things, but you know, we got the message out. The first event was a really good success.
It was a hit for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that event was super fun. Congratulations. And it was fun like seeing your like intro video on the big screen where it's like, Devin from Blaine, Minnesota.
Hey, I
check it out.
When I seen that, I felt famous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I seen it on the big camera. Hey, that's me.
How uncomfortable is a scale of 1 to 10 to do those shots where you're just like leaning against the wall, like trying to look cool? Do you really get up in your head while filming those?
At first, it was like I was just like, because I basically just tell them whatever way you need me to set up, let me know. But they honestly tell you to just have fun with it, feel loose with it. So it's the first couple times I felt kind of weird about it, but after that, it was actually kind of fun, to be honest. You feel famous. You actually feel like a celebrity. So
that's awesome.
It was definitely fun to do.
Well, hey, we'll talk about your lives, Rokkr, everything like that, a little bit about Call of Duty's future, other games, because I don't know how many outlets you all have to talk about games other than Call of Duty. So we'll get to all that stuff.
Yeah,
we have other stuff as well. Okay, great. Yeah. Good to hear. But Kyle, we should plug the Deepest Dive on Chrono Trigger. We just wrapped up. We do like community game clubs or kind of like book clubs.
That's
except
awesome.
We just break a game into chunks and just go into like excruciating detail.
Arguably too much detail.
So we talked about Chrono Trigger for 6 hours. The final episode just went live on YouTube if you want to check that out there. If you're a Patreon supporter at the $5 tier, you unlock the audio version. And then I also wanted to plug that at that $5 tier, you also get access to an upcoming tabletop stream. This Thursday at 8 p.m., if you're an early listener or viewer of this, you can watch us play Concept, which is kind of like a Pictionary-esque game, and we're going to be taking prompts from the community. I'm really looking forward to it. It's one of my favorite games recently. So.
All right.
Do y'all play tabletop games much?
I used to work at Games by James when I was like 17. Yeah. So
really?
Like at the Mall of America?
Yeah, I worked at the one in Burnsville, and then I did a couple stints, like a couple months at the Mall of America store.
Okay.
As well. So yeah, I did partake. I got into like the big hitters like Catan and stuff, but I haven't in a long time. I've been meaning to get back into it, and I've been thinking about because a couple of my coworkers and people that I know have been getting into D&D, and I've been thinking about making the big jump. I don't know if that counts as a tabletop game.
It is the tabletop game. Yeah, for sure.
I don't remember like what they're all labeled, but I was like, that sounds kind of lit because like it's so in depth and like it's something to do. So.
Now look, you're a master of content, so I don't want to tell you what to do here at Midnite. But if you streamed like a Call of Duty themed D&D session, people would go nuts for that.
Has that been done before?
I don't know. I know you can have like custom rules and setups and stuff.
Thank you so much for giving me this nugget because I might actually try to execute that because we got some people at our office and I'm sure some of our players would get into it too because once you explain it to them, like it sounds kind of lit. So
yeah.
If we were to stream that would be cool.
Yeah, it'd be super fun. Anyways, also in this episode, Kyle, we're going to talk about Kunai. Am I pronouncing that right-ish?
I assume.
Okay, a newish Metroidvania that's going to be challenging, and Kyle will talk all about it. And then we'll talk about like the Anthem reboot, what appears like E3's reboot, big news on that front.
Yeah.
And then also Dreams is actually coming out on Valentine's Day. It's been in early access for so long, but now the PlayStation 4 game is out. We played through the entire campaign on the Great Cody Hunt stream yesterday, and so there's a lot to cover there. And then, of course, community emails with maybe a special guest. Okay, so you got Games by James.
Yes.
Also, most importantly, you worked at Valley Scare?
Yes, for one fall before Black Ops 2 came out. So before Black Ops 2, Devin, and that was to put it in perspective.
Just I like how you timestamp periods of time. Like this is the Black Ops 2 year.
I put years into Call of Duty, so that's 2013 for you guys that don't know. But that was before I started streaming, and that was before I'd seen like any like financial success. Really, I mean, I'd had like a little bit from my YouTube, but it wasn't anything to support myself with. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just get this seasonal job and check it out. And because my sister wanted to work there, so she ended up being like one of the like scarers or like monsters.
Okay, we should set the scene. So there is, because this podcast does go around the world.
Oh yeah, true.
So it is Valley Fair, which is an amusement park in Minnesota here. One of the happiest places on earth. I just love it. And then every Halloween they have Valley Scare.
Yeah.
And so it was a horror themed area of the park.
They like basically convert like a bunch of these like small trailers into like mazes. Have you been to Valley Scare?
Yeah,
Devin?
no, isn't it all of October too?
Yeah, it's like
from the
all
first
of October
to the end to the first of next month, I'm pretty sure. But no, it's definitely lit. I'm not gonna lie. I've been there a couple times in my life.
It's a good time. So, and I got to go through all the mazes like before, like while they were like getting their monsters ready or whatever. So it was pretty cool. I kind of hate those things, but also had a good time. But
I remember when I went there, it was a very alarming moment that really took me out of it, where I was going through the spooky haunted house, and then there was a zombie-looking guy. And he snuck up behind me, and he did like the clicker sound from The Last of Us.
No,
and so it took me out. I was like, well, now I just know you're a Last of Us fan, man. Now I know you're kind of like a real
zombies can't be Last of Us fans?
I guess maybe he played it before he died.
Clickers terrify me though, so I don't know. It makes it. Oh, I'm so excited for Last of Us 2. Sorry, I don't want to get like too far down.
We're here to talk about games.
So like, were you one of the people who would jump out and scare people?
No,
or?
So I was security.
So what did you do,
I was like, that is cool.
Oh.
I had a flashlight and I would stand behind these. So there were certain points. Oh man, I'm giving like inside baseball of the Valley Scare thing. I'm sorry guys, but there's like these little curtains and they have access to certain points throughout the maze. The security's there to make sure that like the monsters don't get punched. If somebody's too scared, I give them a very quick way out. And also if anyone messes with the props, then I take care of that. So I come in with my flashlight, like, hey. So I'm sitting here in this like fog machined, like little like 3x3 part of a hallway looking through a curtain. And I see this kid, like we had an upside down pig. It was like a butcher house theme.
Yeah.
So this kid like, I don't want to say what he's doing, but he started messing with the pig and like grabbing it and stuff. And so I put in my flashlight. It was like the time I actually caught someone. I put in my flashlight. I was like, hey, because I'm like a 5'5" chick, right? So I wasn't like a bouncer, but I was like, hey, and he was like, oh my god, like he had no idea he was being watched, and he like he probably pissed himself a little bit, and I got kicked his whole group out of there. I felt kind of bad for his group.
It's gotta be like nice training for dealing with trolls on the internet, though. I'd imagine it's just so much streaming you've done throughout your life. You've had to deal with, especially. Call of Duty fans are wonderful, but just from my experience as a Game Informer, there's a lot of folks out there that can get very feisty.
I will admit, even me, I can be a little toxic.
I'm not gonna lie. I troll a lot of like someone will troll me and I'll troll them right back with another troll. Like it's just a community full of trolls. It's fun. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, like,
it's fun.
like Twitter gets wild, Twitch chat gets wild. So we've seen like some craziness, but yeah, I can't like. I mean, I guess you
don't keep a flashlight on the desk to like shine into your webcam.
Maybe I should give them to my Twitch moderators so they could be like, hey, get this guy out of here.
Quit doing some mysterious action with that pig.
Yeah,
an emo with a flashlight.
Like
if you have a flashlight in the emo chat, ban them. Get them out of the chat.
There you go.
All right, I do want to know. So, your official title with Rokkr is
Director of Content.
Okay, what have you learned about how to introduce players to the world?
It's tough because like. You know, especially in Minnesota, like we've never really had like a Call of Duty team or eSports team to like get behind, right? I mean, there's T-Wolves Gaming and they've done a great job. They won champs, I think, their first year here. So we're starting, like eSports is starting here in Minnesota, but it's kind of my job to like introduce Minnesota to people like TTinyy. And TTinyy luckily is from Minnesota, so there's that instant connection that people like feel with him.
Are you the only player from Minnesota then?
Yeah. honestly, at one point, I thought I was the only Minnesota Call of Duty player like in the scene, to be honest with you. Like, it was so lonely for a minute, but then I got announced on Rokkr, everyone's like, hey, I game. Even people from like high school, they hit me up like, I didn't know you played video games. I'm well, here we are now.
Yeah.
So it's cool for sure.
So it's kind of like my job to introduce people to our players, and especially like our guys, like we're one of the team, or one, I guess about maybe like half of the teams in the league require their players to live and operate where their team is playing from.
Right.
And that was really important to us too, because like we know that Minnesotans specifically don't really attach super hard to the team if they know, they're just flying in from LA twice a year to play for us and rep it on their chest.
Yeah.
So to have like the ability to reach not only Minnesotans, but just, anyone in the world who's interested in Call of Duty and being played at that high level, getting the players out there in content, whether, it's podcasts, it's, stuff like this.
You do a lot of like Minnesota themed quizzes on Twitter, which is surprisingly entertaining to watch.
Yeah, we try to do like funny, just content like that.
Yeah.
Easy to digest stuff that you can see like on our YouTube or even on our other social platforms. So
I
think the number one way to get people connected to a team is through content. And I think you're seeing that even in traditional sports, is bumping their game up on a more like behind the curtain look at their players. And
how do you make that not feel forced? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because it can easily come across as like dating profile, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you gotta meet TTinyy. He loves long walks on the beach, and you can't tear him away from his lemon bubbly. It's like, I don't.
Yeah, you don't want it to feel corny or and some of the players are like a little more comfortable on camera. Like I would say TTiny's pretty comfortable on camera, but some of the guys are a little more shy, timid. So it's just getting them to bring their personality out and make them comfortable, because that's gonna be what translates in the content, and making sure that they feel comfortable when we're recording. And I think just like having fun with it. The vibe of the team feels like a big family so far. It feels like everyone, like every single person who works for us or plays for us, is passionate and equally like driven about the same goal, which is either whether it's winning in game or like having the or what we think is the best content. Like everyone's driven for that, so they everyone gets it pretty much.
Me and Alex and actually got our X. All three of us were talking the other day, and we were like, we personally think hands down our Rokkr, just from fans, supporters to the workers, everything, everybody just feels comfortable. So it's like the vibes are there. You feel me? So when it goes to on-camera stuff, just have fun with it. It's just that simple. Just have fun, be yourself, and you feel me? You don't have to portray anything fake. Literally, they tell us have fun with it, be yourself, and then everything's good.
Kyle, you taking notes for MinnMax here of how to introduce Geoff better on camera?
Yeah, just tell them to have fun with it.
Get him comfortable. Certain people aren't as comfortable on camera, but the more you expose them to it, the more you kind of put that phone or put that camera in their face. They're like, okay, I guess I'm going to try to ignore this now. And then they'll get used to it. It's a process.
Yeah, it's wild. You talked about it on the latest episode of the podcast, which is just how effective it is to have an esports team as a franchise connected to a state. Because when you guys came out for the first time, the crowd went wild. And just when you're introducing a new team without any connection like that, it's like, But you have this team now, and it's like, kind of related to the Minnesota Vikings, same owner, stuff like that. So you have that same level of enthusiasm just baked into the entire team here.
Yeah. Well, and one thing about Minnesotans too, and TTinyy, maybe you can add on to this, I don't know about you guys, but I'm passionate as heck about anything that reps us. So whether that's a sports team or anything, even this podcast, MinnMax, it's very sweet. There's a connection there, right? So and I think Minnesotans are pretty prideful. I think when it comes to Minnesota sports, people get attached. And esports is now it's new, but it's something else for Minnesotans to get attached to.
Yeah, definitely.
That Minnesota love. That's really it, to be honest. Minnesotans in general, if it's just in Minnesota, they're gonna love it usually.
Yeah, because I think part of it too, especially when I'm looking at it from the esports scope or the gaming scope, we feel kind of overlooked. We usually don't get those big events here. They always go if it's gonna be in the Midwest, it's maybe Chicago, or it's in LA, you gotta go to LA, or Florida, and it's we feel kind of, or at least I did for a long time, felt overlooked, because there was never a COD event here, right, TTinyy? Or never a huge one.
I didn't think there was gonna be one here for a while, and then once you actually told us it was in Minnesota, I was so happy just for you. Because I've been playing Call of Duty since World at War, actually, just public matches in World at War.
That's 2009.
I think you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. 2 years after. 2 years after COD 4.
I earmark all the years with COD, so what he means by World of War is 10 plus years ago.
Exactly. So 2009, 2010, I was playing public matches, and then a year even after that, I literally looked up on Google on the computer events here, LAN events, whether it was GameStop, anything that I could just go and see other people doing it with. So after I figured out it was here, I just knew that the love and support was going to be there for sure. Yeah. Because the way I felt, I figured out a lot of people felt about gaming. So I was like, okay, it's definitely going to be.
And that's one of the things, too, like coming in. So our team in the league, there's 12 other teams in the league spread out all across America. Then there's also a London and a Paris team. Our ownership is brand new to esports. All 11 of the other teams either have experience in Overwatch or other esports. So they truly came in super fresh.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that, was, I think, maybe at the beginning it was a little bit of a struggle for just us to figure out, like, how do we do this? How do we get people interested? But how the team has been built so far has been really exciting. And I think that, like, care that goes into building the team came across in the ads and the promotion to get people in the event.
Yeah.
And then I honestly wasn't sure, and I don't know about you, Tiny, you can maybe like attest this too, but I didn't know like if the fans would like grab on to our players, because at COD events previously, one or two of the most popular teams got those chants. I've never seen like GodRx and our guys, they're not like yet superstar level players that get those chants, and so to see them have that and that experience, like that just warmed my heart so much, because it means that Minnesota took to our guys, and our guys like have a future here, and it just really like reinforces the whole thing that we're doing here, and so it was really special.
And not to make it too Minnesota centric and too much of a Minnesota love fest, but you're from Minnesota originally?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
So I grew up in I think I grew up in Ridgefield and then moved to Prior Lake when I was like 8. So I went to high school there and everything. So yeah, I'm originally from here. I did move down to Texas for a couple of years with Optic Gaming, but then came back here, and then this team got announced, and the rest has been history so far. Feels like I've lived like 2 years in 6 months.
Okay, so obviously Call of Duty has consumed your life in a good way. Yeah. Before you're playing Call of Duty, what were like some of your favorite games going back in the day?
So I've been gaming since I was 5, actually. I've just always been drawn to gaming. So I started off like on the Super Nintendo, playing Mario, Donkey Kong, just the classics, obviously.
Chrono Trigger?
No, I don't
fix
think
it.
Duck Hunt.
Or just listen to 6 hours of us talking.
I mean, it sounds like I'll have some content to dive into if you're trying to understand. But yeah, I got into those games, and as I was growing up, like if there was an arcade somewhere, like, hey Dad, can I have a couple quarters? I want to go play, or like it just was always a thing. I didn't actually I just played. I think my favorite game growing up was like Grand Theft Auto. So that whole series. I've actually been playing GTA since the top-down version.
Yeah,
on PC.
So the first one you were playing?
Yes, on PC
so
when I was like 9 years old.
And your parents they were cool with that?
I didn't actually buy the game, but I was playing the demo.
Yeah.
So I would just play the demo over and over and over. It was the same mission every time.
I'm totally with you. GTA 2, that demo is one of the most played demos of my life. Just trying to get the yellow cheetah. I remember that was my only goal. And then just hearing that stupid old radio chatter. It's like, we got a 1034 on rap. Yeah. But it's just like baked into my soul because I played that so much.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I felt about GTA the whole time. So then fast forward, ended up, hearing about Call of Duty 4, which was in 2008. I worked at Costco wholesale at the time, and I kept seeing the game come through the cashier lines. My coworkers started talking about it, so I was like, I don't really, like, I think I tried Halo at some friend's house before, and I was like, not my thing. Like, I don't
was that your first FPS?
Yeah.
Was Halo probably?
Yeah, technically, but I didn't, like, buy it. But so Call of Duty was the first FPS that I ever bought, and I was like, yo, this is so addicting. I don't know why. I just got instantly addicted to it.
Yeah. Are you guys big campaign people with Call of Duty?
I used to be, but then like I think over the last few years I just stopped playing the campaign more so, just focus completely on multiplayer. Like every time a new game comes out, I just nerd out on multiplayer. Just try to figure out every map, every game, everything.
Do you think though if you played the campaign like on the hardest difficulty, you could still be a cakewalk?
I feel like I could, because I used to do that for older campaigns.
If you've done it on older campaigns, you'd probably be fine, but I couldn't do it on the older. I would always get naded, like every time. Like especially on World at War, you try to play it on the hardest difficulty. There's always a nade at your foot.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Okay, so it's such a huge leap between, I got really into Call of Duty 4. I think a lot of people listening are watching in that same camp. But then to go from that to, I'm going to devote my life to it, and this is my career now. Like, what are those milestones that you hit in playing where it's like, how do you soak it in to that level? Are you just doing more research, just spending more hours?
I think it's just getting obsessed with it, truly, and being truly passionate about it, because I didn't like now you can look at a Twitch streamer or a YouTube channel or a podcast and say, okay, that's success. That's what I could try to achieve. But this time there was none of that. Nothing. I was looking up on forums, like certain like advantages in the game that you could get and stuff like that. Like that's how I was consuming like gaming content. So I always like loved gaming content. And then I saw when Modern Warfare 2 came out, I started like Googling because I wanted to see gameplay of it early because I heard like through the forums that people had it early, and I was like, oh, so I found on YouTube for the first time, all gaming videos. Modern Warfare 2, Sandy Ravage playing on Rust. He had the game early. For some reason, it was allowed online at the time.
Weird.
Wild West. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And so I start watching other YouTube videos of people playing Modern Warfare 2, and I find this guy named Hutch. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's like a legend in the COD scene. You know Hutch, right?
Yep,
yeah,
I've seen.
So he was doing like videos where he was actually talking over the gameplay, which blew my mind. I was like, what? I was like, well, if he could do that, I could do that. So then I started, I had the worst capture card ever. I'm talking like 360p, easy cap. It cost like $20. A bunch of like a TV like this is what it was connected
CRT,
into.
Yeah,
and I like just put up my shitty gameplay, and it was good though. Like I was okay. But
it looked good and looked bad at the same time.
I put up my great gameplay in bad quality, and I basically would talk over it and kind of do my thing with it. I would just I was just kind of doing what other people were doing. I got really into it, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
That setup was a lot better than mine because I was in MW3. What year was that? Quick
test. 2012.
2012. I was in like 7th grade probably, and I had an Android
so
phone.
Young, bro.
I had an Android phone, and at the time, I didn't have like money to go just get a capture card or anything, or even a computer that would record for me.
Yeah.
I literally would set up my phone like somewhere in front of me, so it didn't have me in the video, but it had the screen. So I would try to upload off that, and it was bad. I'm not gonna lie. It was bad.
But that's like pure passion. Like
that was pure passion. Where I was like, I want to do this. I'm gonna do this regardless.
How much of like your skill level for both of you is from just encouragement online? Like, do you think you'd be that motivated to get better and better if people weren't watching you, if you were just studying other people?
I think so, and maybe I'll let you answer. I'll go first. I started playing, so COD 4, how I got addicted to it was my first game. I didn't have like a mic in, and I had like a stupid gamer tag. It was like PLHS or something like that for the Prior Lake High School, and I'm playing TDM on Overgrown, and I must have gone like 2 and 28 or something horrid. And these dudes on the mic, they were like, oh, they like started naming me. They were like, oh, we lost because of this person. Oh, you're bad. Yeah, like they were being super toxic, as COD players can be, or as all gamers can be sometimes. And so I was like, oh my god, I never want to play this again. I backed out, and then I went into free-for-all because I was like, okay, well, if I suck at free-for-all, the only person that has to deal with that is me.
Right.
I'm going to lose the game, and that's my fault.
Yeah.
So, but then, like, there's 7 other people in the lobby with you, and the person with the first to 30 wins or most kills in 10 minutes, and I was like addicted to that because I started getting better. Like I started like, oh, I went like 4 and 10 this time, not bad. Like, and then I like would get a little bit better, and I would start to play with a little more confidence because I was learning the maps and how it worked. And then I just got addicted to this feeling of being better than all 7 people in that lobby, and then it got to the point where I was winning every time. And so I didn't tell anybody about this except for maybe some of the guys at work. I was like, yeah, I really like it. It's cool. Let's play. And it was an instant addiction for me. And then the content, like, I've always been a fan of like video making and that type of stuff, so it just kind of went hand in hand. But yeah, it just started as a passion. How did it go for you?
See, for me, I started playing Halo.
Get up on the mic there, Devin.
Oh, my bad. I started playing Halo more like when I first started like playing video games. But before that, I'd play simple things like NBA, Madden, games like that.
Was this like Halo 3 then, or what?
Yeah, Halo 3 actually was the game.
Okay.
Once I realized you can play, what really got me is I was better than other people around the world. That's what really kicked it into me. Like, okay, this is my first game online I'm playing. It's a shooter game where, like, you actually have to be better than the other person. And I was doing that. I was being better than a lot of players. So I was like, okay, well, this is fun. But then my brother came home one day with his friends and started playing Call of Duty. And it looked way more realistic. So I was like, I want to play a realistic game. Got on Call of Duty and just instantly was just really just naturally good at it. Hand in hand, it just came to me. You feel me? So I would say more so once I realized that you could actually, like, make a living off of it and get to positions where we have now, like professional gamers. Yeah. I realized that more so in like Black Ops 2, watching all the major events.
2013.
I don't know why. Do you remember Scump's little video on Yemen? Yeah. Yemen Hardpoint where he's yelling, "Who's the best in the game?"
Who's the best
I don't know why.
Game?
That always brought fire to me, and I was like, I like that. I want to, like, you feel me? That's passion. So I was like, yeah, I like that for sure.
Were you always unbelievably like competitive before that even though?
My whole family, yeah. It runs in my family. It's competitive. We'll make literally small bets like, I'll bet you $1 you can't do this. Boom. And then it turns into an argument. And that's just how it was. You were just always competitive. So.
Yeah. Hey, have you ever played a game that probably came out the same year you were born? Perfect Dark on Nintendo 64?
I've never heard of that.
I bet you $20 I can beat you in Perfect Dark.
You probably could, to be honest.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm not denying it. You probably could.
Can I play you at some point one-on-one in Perfect Dark?
What console do I need?
N64.
I don't have that.
You have it here?
Yeah, I have it behind
split
us.
screen, yeah.
I don't know how much time you guys have today. I don't want to pressure you guys into anything more than you signed up for.
I got like an extra 5 minutes if we could do that.
We'll see.
You think you can beat him in 5 minutes?
Sounds good.
Oh, I can mop the floor with him in 5 minutes.
Honestly, I'd probably be learning how do you do this? How do you do that?
I'm counting on that. That's my only chance. Are you
I
nuts?
would say give him like 2 warm-up games and it might be a problem.
I would love to see how you handle an N64
It's a
controller.
first-person shooter, but you only use one control stick. I don't know if you can wrap your head around that.
Oh, jeez.
What do you mean you only use one stick?
Yeah,
Have you
hold
ever
on.
played like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or anything on 64? Have you ever played a 64?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
When I was
Like
really
Mario
young.
Kart or something?
When I was really young, I played those type of games.
Oh my
I never
God.
played first-person shooters on them. I didn't even know they made them, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
It would be
Yeah.
really exciting. I want to see you play this game for sure.
I definitely want to see this now. Okay, so outside of the shooter space, I mean, do you guys have time to play any other games, or especially for you, are you just grinding and training with Call of Duty so much that you don't have time for anything else?
The way I look at it, I grind Call of Duty like 90% of the time, but there's always that time where I'll be sitting there like, I want to play a different game just to have fun, because if you're just sitting there playing the same thing all day, you're going to get good at it, but it's going to get stressful, you feel me? So I'll play Madden, 2K, I'll go play computer games. Like, I suck at Fortnite, I'll hop on Fortnite just because, play a computer game just here and there, just honestly just to bring up more
When you say
vibes.
you suck at Fortnite, I mean, there must be some
I'm saying
overlap
Fortnite on the
there.
computer, actually.
So just the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
average placement? Like, where do you land usually?
When I used to play, when the game first dropped, I would get usually like 6 to 8 kills a game, and I'd land at tilted. I just wanted to instantly get into action. I didn't like.
That's like pretty good, bro.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I think you're doing fine.
But that was before people could like build. Like now I hop in the game and I'm getting put in a box in like 2 seconds, and I don't know what to do. Like,
Fortnite's stressful nowadays.
it is.
I don't know.
You can fly with cars and everything. I'm lost. I'm sorry. I'm
Not
so
mine.
lost.
Not realistic enough. For me.
If there's no building, okay, I'm gonna be good at it because you got to shoot me and I got to shoot you. But other than that, I'm not building you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's fun.
You can win.
I like to play. I mean, I streamed and did a lot of content like on my YouTube and Twitch, but it was mainly Call of Duty focused. I would always kind of dive into other games, but I would always come back to Call of Duty because that was the bread and butter. That was what most people watched me for. But I love Red Dead 2. I just recently finished it. I got 100%.
Congratulations. 100%?
I 100%'d it. I did
Holy
all the
cow.
challenges. They were awful.
Do you
I
feel
did
like-
the hunting. It was.
Do you feel like that
intense.
dragged down the story experience, though? Like trying to squeeze in so much bonus stuff in there?
No, it was great. I love the game so much. I love all the characters. I love Arthur Morgan. And so I finished the game like, a month or 2 after it came out. But then over time, like I would take pretty big breaks. But then I would like really get addicted to it for a weekend. And then just slowly, it took me a year, but I did hit 100%.
That's wild. Is it
impressive.
your favorite Rockstar game?
No, I don't. I love Rockstar games. So I love Red Dead 2. That's like the most recent big hit that I love. But I mean, obviously GTA 5, San Andreas is my all-time favorite game.
Oh,
San
really?
Andreas.
All-time
many
favorite
great
game?
memories. So many great
that's
memories. with
awesome.
that. I just replayed it so many times. I did 100% on that too back in the
Remember
day.
that weird co-op mode in San Andreas that people don't talk about, where you have to be like on the same screen as like this janky
the mode
mess?
that's actively not fun.
Yeah.
It's like the only way to make GTA not fun is to try and shoehorn co-op before it was ready for it.
Yeah. There were like weird, like, because you couldn't go off screen with each other. So
Yeah.
you really had to be like right there. It was weird.
Hey, y'all remember when GTA, the most recent GTA 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when it dropped and like nobody could get on the servers for
Oh, yeah.
It
literal
was
hours?
revolutionary.
Yeah.
I remember because that was the first game. Even in Call of Duty, I never did it, but all my school friends were getting up really early to play the game. So I was like, okay, I'll get up early and play the game with you before like I get on the bus.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed because I got up and I couldn't play.
Yeah.
No.
So like I got up at like 4:30 in the morning because I
Oh,
got to leave at
no.
6:30. Downloaded the game, and by 5 I just couldn't play. And the whole time I'm just sitting there like, I could have been asleep.
Yeah.
And then I
you
was
go
just
play
so
the
tired all day.
campaign
I was
mode.
like,
Gaming,
this
yeah.
was literally the worst decision of my life.
Rockstar got you
Like-
good, bro.
I love the idea, and I promise I won't keep harping on how young you are, but it's fascinating to be
Yeah.
like, oh, that old game GTA 5, because you were what, like 13 when that game came out then?
13.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
I was.
That
I think I.
was it
No,
7 years
no,
ago?
no. I think I was 15. I think I was a freshman in high school.
Okay,
maybe.
okay.
14
So maybe
or
like when
15,
GTA
yeah.
Online, yeah,
14
really
or
Yeah,
launched
true.
in a
Because
big way.
it didn't launch with online. so
Right.
took
Yeah, it
a
was like
while.
2 weeks or a week, something.
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it took a
it
while.
was a
Did you get
little
into
bit.
Red Dead Online at all?
I tried it the first day it came out, and there was some issues with it, or I didn't really like the pricing of things and how long that would take. But I have heard that it's kind of lit, and so I've been thinking about it. Like now that I have like more time after this event has happened, I was super busy before that. But I've been thinking about hopping on there because I don't know. I want to remake my chick and everything too because she looks kind of busted. So I want to like remake her and like.
It's hard to make like an attractive person in Red Dead Online. Like
it's the 1800s.
Yeah.
1800s.
I wasn't even trying to make her attractive, but just like I wanted her to look badass. But then she just had like a mouse face, and I was like, oh no.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about it. Do you guys get on there?
I tried it a little bit. I should go back to it at some point because
I've heard it's gotten better.
Yeah,
it's changed a lot. Like even the way it controls is a lot different now.
Really good.
Yeah.
Right, because I tried like was it Gun Rush? What was the name of like their little battle royale in there? Right when that came out, I was like, I just don't know why I would ever play this with like Red Dead controls and a battle royale. It sounds.
It's not a good shooter game. Like I don't like the reason I play Red Dead isn't to shoot things. It's for all of the other like atmosphere and just the missions and everything.
It's a realistic game, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, but they have cool like online missions, and I was even looking up like while I was doing 100%, I would go back to my like finding like articles about like certain things I need to do because I was like, dude, how do I get these spoonbills? Where are they at? So I'm like, I would like go on there to research, and then they would have like some online stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like maybe I will like mess with it a little bit.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
So throughout my years at Game Informer, I went to all the Call of Duty studios, I guess, like Infinity Ward twice, Sledgehammer twice, Treyarch there for Black Ops 4. We filmed like some rapid fire interviews there and stuff like that. But how much do you guys like keep up to date with the development of Call of Duty? How much communication is there between the pro scene and the development scene?
I mean, there's a decent amount. I personally don't really stay in touch with a lot of it just because like I'm gonna play the game whatever you give me regardless of the fact. You feel me? I love Call of Duty, so I'm gonna play the game regardless.
I don't mind when you update it, even if it's in the middle of this tournament.
Just
that's
let me
great.
know when you update it so I can update it and go do something while it's updated.
Right,
And I'm good, so I can come back 30 minutes later and play. So.
So I've actually been to a couple of the studios as well. I've been to Raven in Wisconsin.
Oh, what is that like?
Ward. It's awesome. It's really cool.
I want to go to Raven because they're really the unsung heroes of the entire Call of Duty series at this point.
They really are. And they did a lot of cool stuff before they got into helping Call of Duty. So I think, Raven's a super dope place. Only like 3 or 4 hours from where we are now in Wisconsin. Been to Infinity Ward, been to Sledge. I don't think I ever got to Treyarch, but I would go out there to kind of like I was a part of the content, like, I guess, influencer team that would capture like new event DLC packs. So they would bring us out to show us the new DLC packs, and we would get some footage and then like talk about it.
Wait, so you would capture it just for their trailers or for your own content?
For my own content, yeah. So it was in a way to kind of like promote them organically because we were all so excited about the maps when they would come out. So that was a good time.
Did they pick your brain a lot? What type of things did the developers want to know from you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone out to dinner with these people, right? So I like went out to dinner with Michael Condrey and told him my unfiltered opinion on Advanced Warfare at the time. But you do it in a constructive way, right? You don't just say, "Oh, what the heck," you know?
What is this?
Yeah,
did Condrey seem receptive?
They're people too. Oh yeah, the people that make the games that we all love, they're real people, right? Mm-hmm. They're not just some entity you scream out. I mean, I do like as a joke. Like when I'm playing a Treyarch game, I say Vondahar. But I mean, Vondahar is like a little bit of a buddy of mine because I've met him. There's a rapport there. Like he's a great guy, and so I'm able to like understand the difference between like this is a real person, a human being that has feelings and everything, and then like here's what I think about their game and how do I put that in a constructive feedback for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they appreciate when you're able to be constructive instead of just like.
What was that charity thing we did?
Which one? The Call of Duty Endowment.
Where we did it with.
I
forget what it's
Hearts
called.
and Hammers.
Hearts and Hammers.
Hearts and Hammers. Yeah.
They literally asked us like, "Hey, what do you think of the game?" Like literally give us constructive criticism. So I was like, okay, well that's the first time I've actually like kicked in like, okay, yeah, I can actually talk to them like one-on-one about it and tell them how you feel about the game and everything.
Because we did like, it was like a charity thing that we had done through like, it was in association with Call of Duty Endowment, and they found a local charity here, and then Activision. I don't know if you guys know, like some of Activision's based out here. So, they were there, and like, they're all people, and it's really, I mean, it's a huge like company, huge thing. So who knows like where my voice goes into all that, but I mean, whether it's through content or getting to talk to these guys and girls face to face, like that is how you be constructive and give them your feedback. Right?
Yeah, it was super fun at the kickoff event. I ran into like a developer from Raven,
awesome,
and they were like looking at the game, like, I worked on this game for 10 years and I do not recognize what's going on the screen. Which is just like, it's so wild to see developers be like, what have we created? Oh my God.
It's kind of crazy too because, well, especially Call of Duty, and I think other games have this thing too, but there's different kind of sectors of players, right? So you have like the hardcore, the hardcore grinders in TTinyy, like he's gonna focus on search and destroy. He plays the other competitive game modes too, but like S&D's his thing. There's a whole community of search and destroy people. Yep. Then there's also the sniper community. Then there's the try-hard community. And then there's the people that kind of suck at the game, but they can still... You can't forget
the troll community.
The trolls, the people with the riot shields all over. Like, there's all different types of the community for them to try to please, so I could see how it's obviously difficult. But it's been interesting, and you asked kind of like how closely do I follow like the developers. I follow it pretty closely. I like to see like who's coming out with the next game, what do they kind of like to specialize in, or what's their kind of vibe? Because I feel like, when you play an Infinity Ward game, which is what Modern Warfare is, there's kind of a vibe or like a style to it. Mm-hmm. But then, you'll have a Treyarch game and you're like, I know this is like a Black Ops game. This is how it is.
Do you have a sense of what's going on with Vonderhaar? It seemed like he tweeted something about stepping away from the Call of Duty series in 2019. I'm not trying to get any inside scoop. I'm just wondering if you have a better sense of what is the status over there. Is he still on the franchise?
I actually have no idea.
I think from his tweets, from what I could tell, he's still like working with Treyarch and doing his thing. I'm not sure in what capacity or because there was a lot of cryptic stuff, and he's a PR handler's worst nightmare, self-admittedly from him. He's tweeted that. So he's tough to handle on Twitter, but I think it comes back to just his passion for the game and everything and for what he does, because he's been working at Treyarch and making these Call of Duty games for longer than TTinyy's been alive, maybe.
Alive, maybe for real.
Maybe 20 years. Like, it's his whole life's work, right? So I'm not sure like what the status is, or I'm not even sure like who exactly is making the next Call of Duty. There's kind of a kerfuffle with that.
It seems like it's going to be.
I think it's going to be a tag team thing going on. So I'm excited though. It excites me that I get excited for a new COD every year. I'm that person.
Yeah. So on the Modern Warfare cover story trip, a big point of messaging from them was like, hey, we rebuilt the basics of COD from the ground up. Like, it's a newish engine overall. A lot of phrasing coming from, PR, but those from the developers, and trying to read it between the lines. But when we were playing it out at the studio, like all the developers were watching us like, what do you think? Doesn't it feel completely different? And for a relatively casual Call of Duty fan, it's like, it feels like Call of Duty. It feels good. And they're like, it feels completely different. So I'm wondering from your like professional outlook, when you first got your hands on Modern Warfare, the recent one, did it feel night and day different?
Definitely. You talk about the movement, maybe.
Yeah, no. I definitely felt like it was a real Call of Duty game. I know there was a lot of like backlash on it. There's too many buildings, too many people. You got to worry about too much stuff. It feels like a Call of Duty game. It's like you got to be strategic about it. You can't just run. Like Black Ops 4, it was more so like if you could shoot straight and like the movement was nice, because there's different types of movements on games. Like Black Ops 4, obviously you could move a lot quicker, slide. You could break cameras and everything. But Modern Warfare is more like I'm gonna go this way, you go that way, or I'm gonna stun this way, look over me while I do this. You can't just run and do your own thing. Really, I feel like it's really hard to at least.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a more like basic Call of Duty. It reminds me of Call of Duty 4, to be honest with you.
I think that's what they're going for.
And I think that's I'm pretty sure that's what they were aiming for, so they did a good job on that. So it definitely reminds me of like a basic Call of Duty game, like back to the roots type thing.
Basic slower? Is that what that means? Or
slower,
it's definitely slower.
Yeah, definitely slower, more so just like I said, you can't just run around. You can't do like fly around. You can't do all this futuristic stuff. It's more so like if you were to go to war, this is what you would see type.
And you all prefer that over the
I like
kind of near sci-fi stuff?
I like a mix. I like to be able to run and gun around the map and just, if I'm better, I'm better, right? And not to say that doesn't happen on Modern Warfare, but on Modern Warfare, there's a distinct difference in like how heavy your character kind of feels, like especially if you were to play like Black Ops 4 and then right away play Modern Warfare. There's a difference there, a different feeling as far as like how fast you can move and how weighted your movements are. So maybe for a casual person who just kind of plays Call of Duty here and there, they might not notice it, but if you're playing it as much as we are, like we definitely notice that stuff. So.
Yeah.
Another thing is like I actually just got this question asked during stream the other day. What do I like better, jetpacks or boots on the ground? Honestly, like it's more so. I like when jetpacks first came out, I wasn't a fan of it. When Advanced Warfare came out, I wasn't a fan of flying around and everything because like I was a basic Call of Duty fan. I want to be on the ground, play on the ground. But over the years, like I think Black Ops 3, it really kicked in. Like, okay, this game's actually fun. You get used to it. You're like, okay, it's not that bad. But
Black Ops 3 was good.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But over time, I feel like it's just more so. If I played jetpacks for a year, I want another year of boots on the ground. But then boots on the ground comes, I could do another year of jetpacks. You feel me? So like, it's just more. Honestly, it's just I'm a fan of Call of Duty. So whichever one I get,
you'll take it.
Exactly.
Even if it's on the DS, the Call of Duty 4 version on DS, you'll play it. You'll enjoy
just
it.
Give me Call of Duty.
Have you checked out the mobile version at all?
I actually haven't. I seen one of my friends was actually playing it, and he was actually getting killed. I'm like, how are you doing that? Like, because like I said, if it's not a controller, I'm not gonna be good at it. Like keyboard and mouse, not good at it. He's on a phone touching things. I'm like, no, you might be better than me on a controller if you can do this with a phone. Like,
do you want to know what's funny about that though? Apparently, and I didn't know this, but I got on there, and apparently in the first few matches, I forget how many it is, but you're playing bots so that you can get used to the controls.
Right, so they really make you feel good.
I had my first match. I was like, oh my god, I'm the best! Like, I was screenshotting it, putting it on Twitter, and then everyone was like, Midnite doesn't bots, and I was like, I'm gonna delete my tweet.
delete.
Yeah, so COD Mobile's pretty cool. I like what they did with it. It's cool.
Did you guys get into Blackout?
Dude,
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so it's all I wanted to play last year. I couldn't get super into like, I like Free For All and Search and Destroy. I like Black Ops 4 as a game, but Blackout was just the reason that I just kept coming back to it. It goes back to my Free For All thing. Like, I love dropping into a lobby with 99 other people, and if I'm the survivor, I just feel amazing.
Yeah,
I
real boss.
Yeah.
Honestly, Blackout was the ultimate regame for me. Like a long day of just playing the online game, playing competitive all day. Hey, you want to go play Blackout? Sure. And then hop in the game and it's literally like it's a battle royale. You feel me? It's definitely just a different swing of mood.
And you can't lose, right? I mean, what percentage of games would you win?
I'm not gonna lie. Blackouts, I lost a lot of blackouts.
Okay.
Blackout's tough. There's a lot of RNG going on. Like, you never know what you're gonna pick up.
See,
you know.
There's definitely a lot of players, even competitive players, that stopped playing because Blackout grew so big to the point where you could make a living off of Blackout. You feel me? Just like how people are doing it on Fortnite, how people are doing it on all other battle royale, PUBG, all that. You could actually make a living. So there were some competitive players, like who were really talented, who just said, okay, you guys do this, I'm gonna go play Blackout. You feel me? And they would stream it daily, like Rallied, every TP, everybody, you feel me? Everybody would just stream Blackout. And so they were real tryhards in Blackout. Like, I would go in there sometimes laid back, and next thing you know, just get absolutely obliterated.
They're going
And I'd be
hard.
like, oh, I know exactly who that is. Like, there's real tryhards in there. So, and even some underground players, there's some real tryhards in there. So that's why if you go in there, you better be turned. You better be ready.
Yeah.
It's funny to me that you sort of say it's almost like that's what you do at the end of the day to like de-stress.
That's what I did, but other people took it seriously.
It's like the most stressful game in the world to me.
It's tough.
Yeah. And there were rumors like in the recent like season 2 for Modern Warfare, the trailer, they teased pretty heavily that the Battle Royale is coming. Like people have been leaking this for a while. Like this is definitely a thing. Are you looking forward to the inevitable Battle Royale in Modern Warfare? Do you have thoughts?
So. I don't know if this is true. I haven't been able to like just absorb as much of, the news as I wanted to, but I saw that there's like a blacked out part of the menu that says coming soon.
Classified, I think.
So classified. So they might frick around and do it. And I'm telling you, I'm landing terminal. I don't even know if that's a point on the map.
I was about to say, if that's a point on the map, I'll land there every time.
The terminal is my favorite Infinity Ward map.
Hey, what if they threw Rust in there? Because they just added Rust on the multiplayer. If they threw Rust in there, I could see that.
Oh man, just make like the weird amalgamation, kind of like Blackout was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember Blackout. They teased like, oh, we're gonna be pulling from other Call of Duty games, but I don't remember how much they actually did.
It was a lot.
It was a lot of the black because
it was just the Blackout
you could
series,
land
though.
like. Gosh, man, I'm bad at the map names nowadays.
See, look, all right. They had Array from Black Ops 1.
Yes, that was the one I was just trying to think of.
They had Firing Range.
Yep.
They had Fringe. I think it was, now looking back at it, I think it was all Black Ops maps. Yep,
that's the thing. It was all Black Ops, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they
pulled Tyson, I think,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, you know what's crazy? The only time I've ever seen like Treyarch and Infinity Ward mix their like universes was when you could be Price and play in Blackout. I thought that was crazy.
That was lit.
That is really wild.
So now I'm thinking like, maybe I'm just theorizing. I have no idea, but like maybe I could be like Ghost or someone, and I think they just put Ghost in the multiplayer aspect. So like, what if I could be him on the battle royale, and then like I land terminal? Oh, I'm excited.
I think it's probably gonna happen, right?
I hope so.
Do you hope that it's like a standalone thing that maybe, I don't know, if you own Modern Warfare, you get early access? Are you guys just praying for? Can you just give us one consistent platform to work on and improve our skills instead of jumping every year?
Well, what do you mean for that then?
Do you hope that like the new Battle Royale is just like, hey, it's the Call of Duty Battle Royale, whatever the hell they call it, and it's a standalone thing, just so that you can learn your skills there and you don't have to kind of reboot what game you're great at every year?
Yeah. So it's basically just a whole new map?
Well, it would be like a living game. Like ideally, they would update it for the years to come, as opposed to re-releasing it.
No, honestly, I feel like that'd be a good idea because there's still a lot of people who play Black Ops 4 Blackout.
Right.
Yeah, so I guarantee you, if they just, they could keep it. Exactly, right? They keep updating it, so it's not like they just forgot about it. So yeah, honestly, if they did that this game, if they made a really good battle royale this game, they could definitely keep it.
I think. You saw them do that with COD Mobile, right? Like COD Mobile is its own thing. So maybe. I know they probably Activision seems to like the yearly release of Call of Duty. I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. But yeah, if they were to have some type of like constantly updated sector of the game, what I think would be awesome is if the BR mode in this game was free to play, bring in those people, get charged the skins or whatever, just how Fortnite does, and then like that could really get people like whether they've bought the game or not like reinterested in the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Your level of play, Devin, I'm curious, like what's the last breakthrough you had? When was your last like big level up experience? Did you ever have like a moment within the last like 6 months where it's like, oh, I reached this epiphany and now I'm great at this?
Honestly, all right, first off, I'm not gonna lie. That when I got announced or when I got picked up by Rokkr, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is like a next level. This is a step up from what I was doing before. Because before I was playing just strictly amateur community. Like I wasn't really like known for like competitive. I was more so like a streamer.
Yeah.
But now it's like I'm actually a player. I'm a sub player. I still get to play in the Challengers League, but like that level of just difference is definitely there. I noticed it right then and there.
And then what about like with your actual play?
With my actual play. I'd say I've honestly gotten into a lot better lobbies with like higher up players. At that moment, I realized, okay, this isn't like I can half butt it. Like I can just go easy sometimes, not try all the time. Now I feel like I consistently just try because I just want to keep getting better. You know what I mean? One thing, even my little brother texted me the other day, don't get complacent. Just don't sit to where you want to be. Like just get better. You feel me? You have so many more days to live. Why not get better with each and every day?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. So
that's what MinnMaxing's all about. Yeah. Do you have this is I'm sorry for this question, but do you have any tips out there for people? Like if people are wanting to get better at Call of Duty, are there just like go-to examples like, hey, buy this controller, you idiot, or watch these streamers? Like what are the go-to tips?
Honestly, watch streams. That's what I did at least. Like I used to watch Fizzerp, rest in peace to him. He was who got me into Search and Destroy realistically and streaming and all that. But yeah, just watch streams. Controller is honestly, because there's so many ways you can play with a controller. Like there's claw, tactical, default. You can do that. It's just all your comfort zone. So the controller, I don't really have an answer for that.
Do you use those weird analog stick extender things that they really try and push?
Nope.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't.
I like them.
Do you?
I like just flat default PS4 sticks. You feel me? So I get those all the time.
The regular.
Yeah, I don't, because all the other sticks, like my hands aren't that big. So like I don't like reaching over and grabbing it.
True. It definitely and especially like, remember when competitions were played on Xbox and then they moved it to PS4.
Right.
So when I moved to controllers, like this sounds so stupid, but like my muscle memory and my hands like were sore for months getting used to this new placement of my thumbs with where the sticks were. So like controller stuff is all just personal preference, though.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so watch streamers and get comfortable with the controller.
Watch streamers, get comfortable with the controller, and just play the game. And actually want to get better.
We've been playing the game. We're not that good. We need your help, man.
That's true. That's usually, it's such a cop-out answer, but I usually always tell people, because I would have people come into my stream like, dude, like how, I'm not even on the professional level, but they would watch me play, and like I've played so much. But that's the big difference, though, is like time played. Like I've been playing this for a really long time. I'm really accustomed to the game. One thing that maybe is more helpful that maybe people don't like think of as much, but what I did, like I started with free for all, and then like I moved into search and destroy. I kind of like took it a game mode at a time, because if I'm like now they have all these mosh pits and stuff, so I can see how that's like kind of confusing. Like it doesn't really like, until you learn a game mode, it's not conducive to you like getting really good at it, right? If you're trying to get good at multiple game modes at the same time. So I would say pick a game mode, and like learning the maps is the number one like thing. Right, so understanding like once you get used to how a particular game mode is played, whatever one it is, and once you start getting used to the maps that are played on that mode, you start to have a sense of, oh, well, we just killed 4 of them over here. I think they could possibly be over here, and I'm kind of more aware of that now. So you're aware of your positioning, you're more aware of the map, and you're more aware of where the enemies could be coming from. So I would say pick a mode and really try to put effort into learning the flow of the game and the maps. And that's just going to come from time played. I know that's not the easy answer that everyone wants.
No, that works.
But it does. Like just pick something and start getting good at that one thing, and then you can... Maybe you get bored of that, you move over to another game mode and try that. So.
Yeah. Devin, is it weird to be like at the start of your Call of Duty career in a big way, right? Being brought onto Rokkr. Do you feel the pressure of like, a professional athlete of, I don't know how long this is going to last, so I should be very smart with my money and really try and spread this out. Like, what are your thoughts just on, oh boy, I might be retiring at age 27 here, so I need to make this last?
The way I look at it is, money-wise, my father always told me, just don't be dumb with your money. Like,
wise words.
You feel me? Like, it doesn't grow on trees, so
yeah.
I like to just save up a lot of money, but also like just thinking about it, I don't like really thinking I'm gonna retire this year. Because I personally believe, like I said, I can get better every day. And if I put my mind to that, that's where I found most of my success from. You feel me? So like, no matter what people like, if people think badly of you, if people don't believe in any of that, if you believe in yourself, just to get better every day, that's how I get. You feel me? That's how I get better. I know one day I'm good at this. Okay, next day get better at that. You feel me? Even if it's minimal progress, it's still progress. So I don't plan on retiring at the age of 27. I plan on doing this for a while.
Yeah. Well, you've made an awesome transition now to be content director over there and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have advice on just what the average age 30 looks like for a lot of your players?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm 30s and I started like getting into Modern Warfare 2 and YouTube. That was 10 years ago at this point, right? And I wasn't like successful at it right away. It took a lot of time played and effort and a little bit of luck. I was doing the right thing at the right time. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really ever thought about it, you know, during my whole 20s. I was like, this is a really fun ride, and I have no idea when the expiration date on this thing is, so I'm just going to keep trying, like to Devin's point, like getting better every day. Like, I'm going to try to put up better content or, you know, kind of maneuver through this thing and figure out what works for me and what I like to do, and that's number one. So as I kind of went, you know, and towards like the end of my 20s and then streaming and everything, the last couple of years, I was kind of feeling like, not stale, but I definitely hit a plateau in my growth. And so I was like, is this what I want to do? Like, I was paying my bills, but it wasn't like I wanted something like to really feel like I was like moving forward and leveling up. Because when you get to that point where you're kind of hitting a plateau in life, you got to kind of change it up a little bit. And I got extremely lucky because I just moved back to Minnesota, and a month later, this Minnesota franchise got announced. I said, I got to work with them. And
otherwise, you just would have been streaming?
I probably would have been streaming and just trying different things out as far as
Games
like,
by James.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, no, I've actually went back there, not to work there, but I went back there recently. I bought some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I was like, "What's up? I used to work here." but yeah,
where's James?
Yeah, where is he? But no, yeah. So it's been like a long life of just, you know, feeling it out as you go, which I think people should do more of. I think even though you don't know what's next, that doesn't mean that nothing's next. You just keep going and pushing through. And if you're passionate about it, if you love it, like, you just keep doing it. So that's what I did. And I've had a couple lucky breaks along the way. But that's all because I'm still working hard while those things are happening, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like to add on to that, like, it's very important to when you're grinding and trying different things, you also got to be happy. You feel me? If you're doing something like, if I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm not happy, like, I'm not gonna enjoy my days playing Call of Duty. You feel me? So number one thing is just make sure you're happy. You're actually liking what you're doing in this whole thing, because if you get bored doing it, you're just not gonna want to do it, and then you're not gonna be good at it, and you're wasting time at that point.
Right.
Make sure you're happy with what you're doing, and then a lot more will come.
And the trolling makes you happy. So
literally, like. If you troll me, I'm not even in a bad mood. So if you troll me, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm gonna do it right back. Like, okay.
Give and take.
Absolutely. Well, hey, anything you guys want to plug with Rokkr or just social media handles, any of that stuff?
So yeah, definitely give Rokkr a follow. We're at Rokkr on Twitter. You can find us on all other social platforms. We're going.
ROKKR.
ROKKR, that's right. So check us out on YouTube. I mean, we're uploading content to everything, but especially on YouTube, we just started our docuseries called Saga. So it's following really closely the team as they move through their competitions in the season this year. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And we have another event in May at the Armory, May 9th and 10th at the Armory. So we'll be having another event, and this time it'll actually be a tournament format. So, you know, the last event that we had in January was kind of like predetermined matches, and they were all really great matchups. But this next one is kind of, we're starting off. We know who we play right away, and then the rest of it's a tournament. So hopefully we'll be playing on Sunday that day, and you guys can come cheer us on. So
yeah,
and then
awesome.
As far as like our tags, my tag is at MidniteMN on Twitter. Shout out to Minnesota. And
mine is at tiny_2Ts2Ys_. So
that's perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for swinging by. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this was a good time. You guys are awesome, and I'll keep watching the show because now I'm a fan. So.
Oh, that's very sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, this is the first time we've ever done this here at MinnMax, but do you all want to clap out? Just give each other a high five there.
What you
sure, let's go high five.
Okay.
All right, bet.
Peace out, guys.
Oh my God. It happened.
It still works.
It still works. We have Geoff Marchiafava back in action in his normal seat. Just wonderful. And Jack Gardner.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. First time on the MinnMax show. You were here.
Second time.
Well, you were here
for
Max spoilers on Jedi Fallen Order.
That's
completely different.
Totally
different basement.
Yep.
Jack Gardner, you helped out for so many years at Game Informer with Extra Life.
I did, yeah. I'm mostly writing for Extra Life since like 2013.
Writing for them, not raising money for them.
Raising money for them was just something that I was doing because I like helping children.
Oh, what
you
a good
monster.
choice. But then also, yeah, you're always at the Extra Life. It's very helpful. You were in kind of the first wave of the rebooted Game Informer internships back in the day. What year was that?
2012.
Oh my God,
Wow.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Remember Allie Rapp? Remember that was a big story in the industry?
Yeah.
Hey, that was a weird time. She was an intern back then as well with Josh Straub as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's doing well, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good to hear.
That was good to hear.
Also, you have the Best Games Period podcast.
Yes.
Is that name wasn't taken, really?
It was not. So I just went with it.
Yeah, very impressive.
So it's just one Ocarina of Time episode, and you're good?
I mean, we're on like episode 140 something. We're almost at 150.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
wild.
you. Thank you.
Jeff, what are you doing with your life?
This?
Yeah.
Now I feel like a slacker.
Yeah, get on it. Get on my level.
We have some things to talk about, some more newsy items to talk about if you're all down for that. We'll get to games in a little bit. But Anthem. This week, BioWare released a statement. Casey Hudson, GM of the studio, had a big blog post just saying basically like, hey, we've been working hard, but I think this Anthem thing might need a little bit of an overhaul. So he says, we've also heard your feedback that Anthem needs a more satisfying loot experience, better long-term progression, and a more fulfilling endgame. So we recognize that there's still more fundamental work to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience, and it will require a more substantial reinvention than an update or expansion. Over the coming months, we'll be focusing on a longer-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting, And to do that properly, we'll be doing something we'd like to have done more the first time around, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. Yada, yada, yada. Creating new worlds is central to our studio mission, but it's not easy. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we miss.
So did they not focus on gameplay first the first time around?
I think it is the most interesting part to me as well, talking about like, oh, this time around, the idea of a focused team and time to test and iterate, even though they had so much time, clearly that project was still coming in very hot. It was a bit of a mess spread out between Bioware Edmonton and also down there in Texas. Like I visited the studio for the cover story back at Game Informer, and it was such a weird time because visiting that studio was, hey, I played Mass Effect Andromeda. That was rough. Now you all are doing something bigger. How are you going to pull this off? And I was like, oh, we just got to focus. We can do it. And then it comes out. And well, I could have used more time in the oven.
I think you mentioned like him saying specifically focusing on gameplay first, which is interesting to me because I think the thing that works with Anthem is the shooting and flying.
Yeah.
So, but I guess when they say gameplay, they mean more of like an umbrella term. That like
he talks about having the loops and figuring out the loot systems, all these things.
Because I think that game feels good. It's just a lot of stuff around it that came up short.
Yeah. When you look back on Anthem, Jeff, how do you feel about it in retrospect?
Pretty bad. But I think that is it's almost the opposite of a lot of games where when you look back on games, you kind of just remember the good gameplay stuff. Yeah. This one had so much other problems surrounding it that it does take a second to think like, yeah, I actually did have fun with those core mechanics. It was just everything else was kind of built around a lot of other stuff, live service kind of stuff that no one wanted to begin with, and
I think even something like the world building down in there is stronger than people give it credit for. There's a part of me that wants to do like a deepest dive on it or something. Just like no one talked about the characters in Anthem. Everybody just talked about the development of Anthem. But there is some interesting stuff in there.
There were interesting characters, but the whole way that they were trying to deliver that story of like you go out with a group and then you come back and have your own private story moments that always just happen in the basement of this castle or whatever.
Meanwhile, your
Like,
friends are over
that
voice
sucks.
chat like, hurry up, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, and that is just one of the many. Those are the kind of things that I remember looking back on it as sucking.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
So, yeah, it
It's-
is. You're not going to fix that with just an update.
A lot of it reminded me of Titanfall, like the original Titanfall's campaign.
Oh, sure.
You remember
Like the
how
multiplayer focus
they,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they tried to have like kind of both worlds.
Yeah, story
in one.
and cutscenes just are tough when it's like also
Right.
trying to be a cooperative experience. Just like no one's really figured it out that well.
Yeah.
You know.
And so there's a Kotaku article back in November of 2019 that was leaking a lot of this stuff from sources within Bioware saying, hey, we are working right now on Anthem Next or Anthem 2.0. They had different terminologies for it within Bioware, trying to figure out what this thing is. But I do think it's really telling that idea like, hey, this won't be like an expansion. This is going to
Yeah.
be a reworking. And even in that Kotaku article, they mentioned it might just be a whole new game that they re-release.
So part of my question is why are they doing this with Anthem as opposed to like Mass Effect? Like what is making Anthem so special that they're doubling down on it?
Because
And
so
think
much
that
to
can
become
make it
profitable.
back?
I think, yeah. I mean, they spent so many years on it. They need the thing to be profitable. And to be fair, like it was one of the best-selling games last year. Was it number?
It sold well.
It sold
at
crazy well.
launch, but
But
mean,
I
yeah.
think it's just they sunk so much time into it, and so it's like there's something there. We can rework this. We can make it better compared to Mass Effect. I mean, they have a toolbox to rearrange some toys in with Anthem, whereas Mass Effect Andromeda, it's like, oh boy, you'd be building a whole lot new stuff. So it's like it's not unsalvageable at this
Yeah,
point.
and Anthem is also the vision of like EA's dream game of a live service thing that goes on forever
Right.
that you're going to keep on paying money into in order to keep on playing. Like
Right.
that's the ultimate end goal that they're trying to get to. Whereas you can fix Andromeda, but people already bought it. What else are you going to get out of that?
Yeah, for sure. And in that Kotaku story, they talked about how they're debating like breaking up the world of Anthem instead of like, oh, one large, basically seamless world. Now we're going to break it up into smaller sections so we can be more dynamic and it won't break the entire game if we change this little bit within Frostbite, stuff like that. So that'll be a weird idea is flying around and like, okay, more loading. But if it allows them to be more flexible to development, I'm excited to see what they do.
And hey, maybe they can hide like story bits in front of the loading screens.
Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing ultimately. I mean, I guess we'll see what the final version looks like, but like there was a base there with Anthem that did not hook in for me, but I liked flying and shooting, and I was like, if you can take that and do something more interesting with it, and I think it still has potential.
Yeah.
I feel like Destiny recovered from sort of a bad launch, kind of in a similar way, where they like reworked a lot of things after development, and it refound its audience and grew again. So it could be a good thing in the long run. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's also weird that BioWare stuck the thing that they're historically not good at and screwed up the thing that they are good at. Like the idea that they created an experience where the flying and the shooting, like those core gameplay mechanics, actually are really good. That I think that's what a lot of people were very hesitant about. Where it's like you're making a multiplayer shooter that you want to compete with these other games that companies do so much better than you. Like Mass Effect has never been about the gameplay that much.
Yeah.
They've had that, a multiplayer component to it.
Andromeda
But that's
played
not why-
okay, yeah.
That's not why people played those games, And so for them to like screw up mission design a lot, which was really I think that was the most surprising thing to me with Anthem. And then, fumbling with how they're laying out a story for people. Like hopefully, I don't want to say anything about this is going to be easy for them to improve, but those are the company's strengths to begin with. So hopefully those are things that they can actually
And
deliver
during
on.
development of Anthem, didn't a bunch of people leave and there was a lot of like studio shakeups too?
Even still, I mean, after it was released, a lot of the producers left. The director, I'm still confused about if he's the actual director on Anthem or what's going on at this point. Yeah, it's a lot of turmoil up there.
Yeah, so it could just be one of those things where like it had 5 different directors and like 5 different level designers and
Producers, yes, but
producers,
it was John
always.
Varner for a long time, and he goes back. He was like the producer on Toy Story 3, and then he was an odd choice to be the director of this project. But he was the director ever since Casey Hudson left BioWare originally.
Okay.
So the director stayed the same, but definitely producers it was shaking up, and especially then after Andromeda shipped, they brought in Mike Gamble. Like, okay, you're a producer now, and then also let's bring in Mark Darrah from the Dragon Age franchise. So it was definitely a shuffle for a lot of that talent, and even like for the cover stories, one of those like, who are we speaking to? Who has been here for the full development of the project? Oh, John has, the director, but he's not available for interviews. And it was like, what a weird thing.
Yeah, so maybe it's like kind of reading between the lines there. Maybe like focused development is really just like a stable team where they can have one vision of what this is going to be.
And especially pulling it to either Edmonton or to Austin, right? Instead of having it be
Split.
that straddle development. But there's a story earlier this week that was kind of a prelude to this. I don't know if you saw it. Maybe it was later last week, but Polygon ran it. But somebody just tweeted that they went into Anthem to play it again, and like all of the Christmas decorations were still up. No, like around, like they hadn't updated the game since then, which is such a weird detail.
Well, hey, it's a different world. Maybe Christmas lasts much longer there.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
time is all relative. You know, their Christmas lasts 4 months.
6 months.
Yeah, that's right. There's also a very weird moment that I tweeted out and it seemed like people got a kick out of, which is during our rapid fire interview, which was, February 2nd, 2018, I think, is when we posted that rapid fire interview. And it was Joe Juba. And the question was to Mark Darrah, the executive producer of Anthem, said, like, are you looking forward to fully reworking this game a year and a half after release? And Mark Darrah was like, God, I hope not. And then like you can like set a calendar to it. It's like a year and a half after release.
Yeah,
and,
no,
okay.
you guys, good on you guys. Like,
Hey,
I mean,
thanks.
that's good joke, and you were absolutely right.
It's like, oh, that's so sweet. That's all I was looking for, was some affirmation.
Good.
And
You
rolled it
deserve
out. Speaking of affirmation, you're going to find none for the ESA this year. Hey, people are talking about E3 again this week. Not only, this is, I think, on the lighter end as far as I can tell, but there was some smaller E3 leak where on E3's official website with the ESA, they listed like vendors that are already lined up to be at the show and stuff, which is like when security is a big issue with them after the whole doxing and stuff last year. It's not a great look. And then on Wednesday, our Lord and Savior, Geoff Keighley, number one Jeff with a G, he tweeted out a statement saying, for the past 25 years, I've attended every electronics entertainment expo. Covering, hosting, and sharing E3 has always been a highlight of my year, not to mention a defining part of my career. I've debated what to say about E3 2020. While I want to support the developers who will showcase their work, I also need to be open and honest with you, the fans, about precisely what to expect from me. I've made the difficult decision to decline to produce E3 Coliseum. For the first time in 25 years, I will not be participating in E3. I look forward to supporting the industry in other ways and at other events in the future. So obviously after PlayStation backing out of E3 was not a great look, and now this as well is just another, I guess, slight nail in the coffin.
So there won't be a Netflix-style press
Panel
conference.
of Geoff Keighley. Yeah. And it's like Geoff Keighley, he had the side stage and he had some cool panels and stuff like that.
There was some cool stuff coming out of Coliseum, for sure.
And Jack, you're saying that the world thinks the sky is falling with E3 even more so now?
Yeah, I mean a lot of people I've talked to in the industry, not necessarily like, just
hearsay.
Yeah,
Sure.
Or people on the street, but like people who actually kind of know stuff are kind of thinking maybe that this is like either the last or maybe the second to last year of E3 because they don't see a path forward for the actual show. Like it's not really a dedicated trade show anymore, and it's not pulling the big names that it used to.
Right.
And,
PlayStation is a huge blow for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, what about this?
It's not gonna outperform PAX.
Right. Well, what about this for a path forward? The ESA released the statement, I think it was like last week or a couple weeks ago or something, saying E3 is a signature event celebrating the video game industry and showcasing the people, brands, and innovations redefining entertainment loved by billions of people around the world. E3 2020 will be an exciting, high-energy show featuring new experiences, partners, exhibitor spaces, activations, everyone's favorite, and programming that'll entertain new and veteran attendees alike. Exhibitor interest in our new activities is gaining the attention of brands that view E3 as a key opportunity to connect with video game fans worldwide. So, I mean, that's filled with specific details that'll make you optimistic.
What'd you say? Activation?
Activations is the key word, yeah.
Did they misspell Activision?
No, that's a whole thing. Activations, marketing activations.
It's marketing speak for like engaging people in a way where they're going to buy your product or like be more involved with it.
It's confusing.
So you'll have like the Death Stranding Monster Energy booth there.
Yes.
Yeah, where you can
exactly.
sit on his bed and take a picture of you drinking the.
But isn't that kind of what you want from E3? Is that type of dopey stuff? Yeah. I mean, I get it. Geoff Keighley. The interesting part is like Geoff Keighley talking about like, I've debated what to say about E3 2020, and even on Twitter he was replying to people, and people asked him like, hey, was it? Did you decide not to go because of all the journalist info being leaked? And Geoff Keighley said, tons of factors weighed into my decision. And then in another tweet, he said, I just don't really feel comfortable participating given what I know about the show as of today.
Oh.
He's hinting, I think, at maybe he's got some inside scoop on just he does not like this direction.
So they're planning on making it an offensive show this year.
That's right.
Just blackface everywhere. Yeah.
Well, it's activating.
But like, no, it's weird because I know when they announced the initial plans for the show, it was like they wanted to have experience stations, and like, I don't think that that's necessarily what anybody who's going to E3 really wants. I don't want to go to an experience station.
I think people just want to play games.
Yeah, those were the experience stations were kiosks.
Back in
where
my
a
day,
new
experience
game
stations
was.
were called PlayStations. Yeah. And it's that weird thing, too, where, it's a big deal for journalists and people covering this, absolutely, when E3 is declining because we go there and we get to see what it's like at the show. But for people sitting in their nice comfy beds at home with a big bag of popcorn just learning about video games, it's always a question of like how much will really change. Still in early to mid-June, you will get a bunch of video game news, right? And if it's coming from Geoff Keighley or coming from a trailer that just drops in your YouTube feed, how much does it really matter?
Yeah, but I do wonder, because everyone's just doing it on YouTube anyway, which Nintendo, kind of paved the way for that to happen. But I do wonder, like, will they continue just doing it during June, or do you just spread that out? Is it better for Sony to do it when everyone is doing it, or to pick a month when they have all of the news themselves?
February.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, September, honestly, like getting closer to that October-November window, like make all those big announcements closer to release for all those companies. You know what I mean? Like,
or use events that are bigger and attract more people, which is basically what PAX has become. Like, the attendance for E3 is infinitesimal, like compared to PAX. So a lot of these companies are just, why would they bother going to E3 when they can pay for the booth space and do the same thing at PAX for more people and get the same amount of coverage, basically.
Yeah. Jeff, how much money would you bet that there will be an E3 2021?
Yeah.
2021?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so too.
It's just a question of what is it going to be, and is it going to be like a bunch of weird, Monster Energy booths and things like that. I'm sure. As it becomes less important for journalists, the way that the ESA is going to handle it is opening it more and more for consumers and try and transition that into a consumer event. It's just a question of where, what's the role that developers and publishers play in that? And do they care? Or do they already say, we have our own show, we have a bunch of PAX shows that we go to. Do we care if we cut E3 from that list, and like, is the amount of money that they're going to have to spend to be there going to change, like, I don't know how E3 compares to other shows in terms of that, but, or, like a lot of companies, I think EA and Microsoft both just rent out other places around LA at the same time, and they have total control over what's going on there. And so will they continue to do that as E3 continues, or, or just say, hey, once Sony starts skipping it and Activision is skipping it and Rockstar never does anything, so why don't we just do our own thing?
Yeah. Overall, I think it's a sign of a lack of faith in the ESA coming from PlayStation and then Geoff Keighley. Like, that's the interesting core. Is the core of this entire thing rotten versus will you still get news?
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I think we watched at Game Informer for a number of years as it was declining, where ESA's always just kind of had like this laissez-faire, approach to it of being like, well, if people, we've always had a good relationship with Sony, but if they think they should go do something else, that's fine for us. And it's like, no, you gotta be chasing after these people and getting them back and giving them reasons. Yes. And so
run to the airport.
I mean, the ESA is basically supposed to be the lobbying group for game companies, right? So it's kind of a big deal when your companies that you're supposed to be kind of allied with are just like, no, we're going to go do our own thing. From the main, like the value of E3 was always that it concentrated all of those companies so that if you were an outlet, you could just send your people to that one thing and get coverage on all kinds of things. And now different outlets are expected, go to 3 different PAXs throughout the year and whatever else, GDC and all kinds of stuff. So,
well, just remember, in the darkest days, Intellivision did promise they were having a press conference at E3 2020. So please hold on to your butts.
They have to be there.
That's right. Jeff, Kyle, you've been playing Kunai?
Yeah.
Jeff, can you correct my Japanese? Is that how you pronounce it?
Kunai.
Okay. And now this is like the weapon where it's kind of like a rope with a dagger on the end, and you pull yourself up.
Stick into stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this and how is it?
Look, I don't want to blow your minds, but it's like an indie game inspired by Metroid.
Yeah, there we go. But it's more interesting than that.
Yeah, it makes a very strong first impression. Like, there's a lot of things to like about it right away. Is like, it looks great, soundtrack's good, and then your protagonist character that you play as, you're like, all the characters are like TV head robots,
kind of computers. Yeah,
like it makes me think of the robot from Fooly Cooly.
Oh yeah,
you know that anime, like and. The character that you're playing as is like super expressive. So like when you're crouching down, he makes this really funny face. When he's just walking around, he has a big smile on his face. But then when you swing your sword, he has this really like aggressive look on his face, and it plays really well. And like using the sword is fun. But then the thing that I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm having a good time with this. But then once you get the kunai, which basically what it lets you do is like you can use the left trigger and the right trigger to shoot off like a diagonal rope, and you can use it to like pull yourself up. And it's a little bit of like a Mega Man X, like jumping off the wall vibe to it. And it really changes the way you can move around the level in a way that I was immediately on board. I was like, I really like this a lot.
You're a sucker for navigating games.
If you can like get your movement speed up in like a fun sort of stunty way, like I love it. Like just like sticking a kunai into the ceiling and then swinging to like throw in another kunai and so that's like the sort of unique mechanic about it, and I really like it a lot so far.
Yeah.
I'm probably like 2-3 hours in. I was playing it like before we were even starting recording today. I'm like through one boss, so I'm not like super far into it.
Doesn't seem easy.
It seems okay.
Okay.
It's not because you get currency, and my assumption was like, oh, when I die, I'm gonna lose all this currency, which is not the case. So it's not like what's the game where you hold you're the guy with the needle?
Dead Cells.
No, neither of those.
The guy with the needle.
Yeah, it's like
Mr. Mosquito.
No, this is so embarrassing.
Guy with a
needle. It was
needle.
It's like what everyone sort of thinks of as like one of the best.
Needle Man?
Rogue Legacy.
It was made in Australia.
Needle Man. The classic.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of
Needle?
the classic Australian game Jetpack Joyride?
No, it was a game.
Hellraiser.
It was a game. We at Game Informer, it did not end up on our top 50 list, and it was very controversial.
The one that everybody likes.
What is it called? Why can't I think of the name?
Help us to half the table. The black and white one with the bugs or whatever.
Salt and Sanctuary?
No, but that's pretty close.
Oh, the one where you're going underground.
Yeah.
The
Warmer.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
We're getting there.
A black
It
and
came
white.
out on Switch, and everybody
with, like,
suddenly realized they
Beatles?
liked it.
everyone.
Minute.
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight.
Oh.
It's not as hard as Hollow Knight, I don't think.
Oh yeah, Hollow Knight.
Wow.
But so that's kind of like in terms of thinking of
with the
difficulty.
needle.
Yeah, you're that's your weapon is a needle.
Okay.
Because there's a little bug.
I did not put that together.
Yeah, but it's I would say Hollow Knight, at least at this stage, is a much more difficult game if you're thinking about like
Sure.
like what in that sort of vein of 2D, really solid 2D platformer, Metroid inspired. Like I would say probably harder than like a Metroid, but not as hard as Hollow Knight.
And most importantly, it is on the
Switch and PC.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm playing it on Switch. I'm really enjoying it.
Sweet. And that's Kunai.
Yeah.
Kunai. Hey, guess what comes out this week, Jeffem?
Kunai.
Kunai, that's right.
Hollow
One
Knight?
more time. Dreams for Media
Dreams,
Molecule.
yeah.
Finally out and about. This is confusing. So it's leaving early access. It was released early for those folks that already bought it in early access on Tuesday. And then on Friday, lovely Valentine's Day, Dreams 1.0 is officially released for $40.
You can smooch it as much as you want.
That's
starting
right.
Friday.
You can make the date of your dreams in dreams. So on the Great Goaty Hunt, which is our stream every Tuesday, we took a look at the campaign, which is called Art's Dream. It's weird to even call it a campaign. It's just kind of like a little story that Media Molecule made, and we played through the entire thing.
It was a super goatee hunt.
It was. That's right. I think that's how that works.
Because we played the whole thing.
But Kyle, you're asking how long it was.
Yeah, I was curious how long it was.
A little over 2 hours.
Okay.
Which
Okay, so like feature film length.
Yeah.
that's how they describe it. And I don't see it. I don't think people are pissed about it. I guess I haven't checked it out too much. But like they've been saying that. We communicated that with our cover story.
Yeah.
I actually was doing some just reading up on it. The very first thing that popped up when I searched on Google was an article complaining about how long it is on Eurogamer.
Okay.
Because it's too long?
No, it's we waited so many years and this is it. This is the game.
They are aware that there's infinite other games within Dream.
Well, you know what? Sometimes infinity isn't enough.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, is like we've been really close to it, and we would like know exactly what that game is going to be. But I think for a lot of people, like to me, that Dreams was out last year, like in full. Like that game came out, it is out. But I think for a lot of people, this is the starting line of like, oh, Dreams is officially out. There's the campaign's there now, and I think that they're putting more weight into that campaign than they probably should. So I think that maybe at least that this is one article, because Jack and I were talking about this beforehand. That's not necessarily an indicator of like overall perception, but like I could understand if someone was waiting for Dreams, and then played this campaign and was like, oh, I thought there was going to be more to this.
I think they should be a little more upset by the fact that they said that VR support was coming at launch, and that is not the case. Like, down the road. And so at this point, it's like, well, if VR support isn't at launch, would they hold it until PlayStation 5? Because it'd be a cool way to like debut VR support in Dreams in the PlayStation 5 version of Dreams.
Which the PS5 will support PSVR at launch, they've said? Or is it just assumed?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, God, were they cagey about that? I feel like they've announced that.
You were the one that was there.
Yeah, Game Report. Yeah, I guess so.
But I mean, I played, like, I want to hear you guys' full thoughts on it. Like, I liked what I played. Like, I thought it was really cool looking and a great, like, showcase of what Dreams can do.
Yeah, Jeff, what'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought about it a lot last night because during the goatee hunt, we got the question of whether we were actually having fun while we were playing it.
Right.
And our
Based on our
response was
blank
very
expressions.
damning because we were both kind of like, kind of.
But we came to the conclusion, which I think is almost a lot of Dreams, of I'm more impressed than I am enthralled by the gameplay.
And which I would also amend that it's always kind of weird playing something for a stream. I think if I had played it at home by myself, and also like half of it is like a point and click adventure game, which is not the way that you're gonna have fun on a stream either.
Everybody knows there's no fun to be had in point and click adventure games.
Yeah, but I think I would have had more fun if I was just going through it by myself to begin with. But the larger feelings are that kind of astonishment at what they were able to create within this engine that they have.
Because
given
it's
to
probably
everyone.
implied, but in case you're not aware, yes, they built the entire campaign only using the tool set that's available for the public,
everyone,
which is a really awesome idea. So I went back to my notes from when I visited Media Molecule for the cover story there, and Kara Ellison, who actually wrote some of the campaign, she said, quote, "A lot of the campaign is just showing off for us, like finding like cool, unique twists. So trying to tell a story while also trying to show off the variety of what you can do in that led them to a really interesting decision where the entire thing is framed as Art's Dream. And it's this musician who is struggling with self-doubt, hinted maybe some drug abuse, a little unclear, but struggling in his life. And then he has a dream where he's dreaming about his old toys. And so you're controlling them as you're working your way towards his big
old
recovery.
toys, which are all futuristic robots.
Or like a weird fox, which, by the way, going back to my notes, Kyle, because you asked, because the fox looks just like Big Boss. It has like the eye patch and it's a fox, like Foxhound. Yes, that was absolutely an inspiration. I forgot.
Cool.
They had a slide at the studio for like, where does Foxy come from? And it was Miles, like Tails from Sonic, plus Big Boss from Metal Gear. I was like, okay, that's a pretty sweet combo.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we're used to Little Big Planet or Tearaway, and this feels like a more mature Media Molecule trying to tell an artistic story, a subtle story. Like you mentioned, I mean, 30 to 40% of the game is a point-and-click adventure, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, and just, I also, enjoy it just because it is unbridled creativity from a company that's basically all they do. But but they have so much more freedom with Dreams as opposed to Little Big Planet, where they can just really do anything. And I think you see that both in the storytelling and, you know, the cutscenes, which essentially, you know, they've talked a lot about how Dreams can be used to just make movies if you just want to do non-interactive stuff. And
it ends with like a cutscene that's really awesome.
Which is insane. I mean, they did an entire song, and it looks, it has the production values of like a James Bond intro, you know, like cutscene. And I just appreciate that they can put that. I will always enjoy seeing that kind of creativity from Media Molecule and getting to play through that kind of stuff.
I think one of the biggest surprises for me was how musical it is. Like there are several musical-esque numbers in there with like singing.
Full songs. Yes.
It's pretty wild to see. Yeah.
And also that's the other half of that is like, this is the kind of thing that no other developer would do. Like no insane person would make something this weird and like you could never justify the expense and the time that you would have to put into making something like that.
Because like we can't market that. And it's like, well, no, you don't have to market this artsy fartsy arts dream. You just have to market kind of a game engine for everybody, which is also almost equally challenging. But it's like that's the bulk of Sony and PlayStation's lifting. And then it's like, whatever you wanted to do with that, Media Molecule to show it off. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm sure they wish there was a cutesy mascot. Maybe Foxy and Francis will catch on more than we expect. Or there's a little robot buddy that looks like Astrobot, and his name is D-Bug. And then he has an elephant buddy named LED, which are very good names for robots. So they got that part down at least. I went back to my notes too, and they talked about how the original idea is at the end of Art's dream, they're going to have Art wake up and it's going to be like the real Art, like a live action Art, just like a guy, like, ooh, what a crazy dream. I assume they'd have something more poetic than that. Then they realize like, oh, we can't, because that like breaks our rule, because that's not something you can do in dreams. So we're not actually going to let it happen and stuff. But then they also talked about like how many times they rebooted that story. There's been so many rewrites on what they're trying to do with that. And then as the tools developed for Dreams, they had to go back and rework the campaign because they needed to use those tools to make the campaign so it was 100% legit. So every time there was a small tweak or a big tweak in the tool set that they were futzing around with, they had to remake the campaign. So at the studio, they said they rebuilt
sounds like
that
a nightmare.
thing. Oh, yeah. So they rebuilt it over and over and over again. But you can tell, like, it's super cool for the finished product. You can just go to our YouTube channel and scrub through it, just like get some sense of the variety that they packed in there. It's pretty wild.
Ignore the whoopee cushion parts that we.
Yeah, they went on for at least an hour. Maybe it's actually like an hour and a half. Then the whoopee cushion made up for the end. But VR support's delayed. It's interesting. Also, online multiplayer they say is going to be coming later. So who knows when it's going to be.
The online multiplayer. I mean, the idea there was that you could be in the same space, both like designing things, right, and building 3D objects,
right, or even having like multiplayer levels.
Games.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Stuff like that. But going through the tool set, they said they made thousands and thousands of small tweaks, added new like starter kits, including some things from the campaign to kind of give you an idea of some of the assets there, even if you can't fully dissect those levels yet, which is kind of a bummer. But it's still impressive. It reminded me of seeing people who really know how to use those tools use it. It's like, it is probably the greatest creative tool I've ever seen in my life. When in the right hands. Like the speed you can make this stuff is just wild.
Well, yeah, and even in the wrong hands, it gives people an opportunity to create stuff that they never would have been able to create, you know, with any other tools. And I think that's what I like most about it. It's not just seeing the creativity from Media Molecule, who could make something that impressive with other tools if they wanted to. It's giving that to everyone and seeing what people are making just out of the joy of creativity too. Like the other half of it is, yes, you could never create something so stupid as, you know, Pig Detective, which was one of the examples, because no one's going to learn how to use Unity in order to create that and spend the hundreds of hours that it would take compared to Dreams. But it's also just cutting out the entire economy of making games for this as well. Like the people in Dreams are only making games because they love games and because they want to share like these crazy ideas. And there's no microtransactions or something. Like, I'm still someone who every couple of months I will go on like a mobile gaming binge, and I will go to the store and I will download a bunch of games that look super awesome, and then I will rage quit and uninstall them one after another, just because so many of them have been corrupted by free-to-play stuff and microtransactions and ways that they're distorting these experiences in order to try and make money, which, you know, I won't fault them for. But Media Molecule has created this walled garden where that's just not an issue. And anyone who's going into it is creating stuff just because they want to create stuff. And that's so much more fun and so much more of a positive experience to dive down that rabbit hole and to just play through things. I like last night I played for probably another 4 hours of just dream surfing through stuff, and it's a very easy way to lose an entire night doing that.
And I mean, we talked about it before, but it reminds me of the thrills of like surfing through freaky freeware, shareware games on the internet. It was like, what is this corner of the internet doing? But with no worry about viruses or anything, just being able to rapid fire like next, and just stumbling across this wild world of like, who made this? Why would you ever spend this much time on this?
Is it possible with Dreams to export a game? And
no.
Okay.
So here's the wrinkle. This is what I believe is the long game from Media Molecule and also Sony. There are rumors that Dreams will be coming to PC. Seems like that's pretty likely. Who knows when that'll happen. But definitely the undercurrent, the unsaid thing that was being said while visiting that studio was like, hey, this is a game engine. We're very into the idea of publishing these things at some point. There was actually a VR studio, I don't know who it was, that was using Dreams to...
Valve.
That's right. To create their VR game. And so I think that is the long game of eventually being able to sell them as standalone experiences. Sony gets a cut, 30%, whatever the Unreal cut is these days, right? And just having that be the most accessible game engine on the market, especially on PC. Like that is money in the bank for Sony and hopefully Media Molecule as well for making these tools. So in my mind, it's like, you think of like the Sony game engines that they're pushing in a big way. It's Decima, obviously, coming from Guerrilla, and then quietly in a sneaky way, hey, Dreams could be a low-key juggernaut for them.
For sure.
Hopefully, you know, people even in the chat were like, oh, it's a bummer that PlayStation hasn't gotten behind Dreams. It's like, I think they've been trying. I think it's just a tough thing to market in early access, and also a tough thing to market even now. Like, what do you want to do?
Especially a tough thing to market on console.
Yeah.
Like, the RPG Maker series is something I think of when I think of like a game engine that's made to be accessible for people. And that's really only popular on like PC. So I think what you're saying, like when it comes to PC, that it's really going to take off. I think that's probably 100% on point.
Yeah, I hope so. But I mean, that said, there's no shortage of content in there now. I mean, you can dream surf all the time, and I'm excited for the new wave of folks. Did you notice any other big changes with the 1.0 release?
They had a new category of basically video tutorials, which they didn't have before.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of, they seem more specific to things like, here's how to create a door that will link to Dreams and those kind of things. So there were more added tutorials in there that I hadn't done yet. It will still show you, checked off which ones you've completed and which ones I haven't. And I'd say there was probably like 20% of new ones in there, and they had created some different templates and things like that.
So did it maintain your progress, I guess you could say?
Yeah, like you have to replay through the intro,
which is, I mean, this is very specific to me because like I was in the alpha, I was in the beta, now the final release. Like I've played through the intro like 4 times, which is like I don't know why they keep making me do
you
that.
okay, man?
I'll be all right. The home space was different. That was exciting.
That is exciting.
Well, that's because you're in a different character's home space. They will give you one to like create your own stuff.
Oh, and that looks more like the one
it's empty when you get there.
Yeah.
You gotta make it yourself.
Dreams, everybody. Support weird stuff from this industry.
Yeah.
This is like a perfect example. Like it's amazing that Sony of all companies funded this to the extent that they did. And Media Molecule had this much time to work on something so weird. To spark other people's weirdness. Yeah.
That's right.
Quickly on the Sony news, did you see there's somehow through financial disclosures, yada, 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 Polygon had this story that it was revealed how much Sony actually paid for Insomniac. How much they paid to buy Insomniac.
They bought the studio?
Yeah. Jeff, what do you think that number is?
I saw that
Damn
story.
it. Jack, what do you think that number is?
Gosh.
Just say you saw it, then you don't have to answer.
I'm gonna go with like 750 million.
Oh, interesting. Well, you're in luck. 229 million. You could buy Insomniac.
Dang it! I was going to actually guess like 250 million, and I was like, but that's like the budget of like a really really big game now, or like
Right.
a Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's
so
the
it's
question.
probably more. I don't know.
Knowing nothing about this world, overpaid, underpaid, Kyle, what do you think?
Important qualifier. Zero context. No idea how much a studio costs. It seems low to me.
I mean, they paid $1 billion for Minecraft.
Yeah.
Just
But that was for
Minecraft.
like the rights. It's not. I mean, with this, they get the rights to Sunset Overdrive, and I guess, God, did they fully own Ratchet and Clank before? I bet they did.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must have. I mean, if
And that bowl
they had like
game.
the All for One and kind of side stuff. Wait, no, that was it's out of North Carolina. The point is, yeah, I want to know what this number would have been before Spider-Man
Spider-Man?
versus after Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
It would have been a lot lower.
Yeah, and I want to know what Ted Price's new car looks like. I'm very curious.
Let
about
us know,
that.
Ted. Patreon.com/MinnMax. Become a Patreon, and then you can
Send a private message.
Yeah.
Oh boy, well let's just say this. Hang on, let's workshop a joke. Let's just say for Ted, this price was right. Or what about like 229 million will now officially be known as Ted's price?
I like that one.
Okay, that's better.
Okay, great. Do you all know how this whole thing operates?
No idea.
MinnMax, that is.
all right.
Oh.
Bubbly water.
That's right.
Sparkling
Mainly
water.
sparkling
You lost me
water.
there.
This is Patreon. Patreon.com/MinnMax, 2 N's. There's a bunch of different tiers there you can check out. At the $100 tier, you can get your face or your pet or your wife or your husband, whoever you want, whatever you want, as long as it's reasonable. On the wall of heroes behind us there.
Dogs.
$5 supporters get this show a day early and a bunch of other benefits, including the tabletop stream, which will be coming up on Thursday,
That's
Jeff,
right.
and a lot of other bonus stuff. But we have some wonderful supporters here. Number 1, Hyperdot. That game's out. Yeah, I went to the launch
Yeah.
party this last weekend. It was a lovely time. It's a very sweet group over there. Anyways, Hyperdot. They say, Minnesota, we brought you Prince, Zubas, and MinnMax. If you can find room in your heart to love one more thing from your flyover state, make it Hyperdot, a minimal action arcade game with one rule: dodge everything. Harold Goldberg from the Washington Post describes Hyperdot as, quote, easy to learn, but maddeningly cerebrum-busting to master, and adds, I survived 13.2 seconds, even after multiple tries, but I didn't want to stop indulging.
That's how
Hyperdot's
you get a
available-
job at the Washington Post, using words like maddeningly.
Maddeningly!
I have a
Hyperdot's
story
available
about
now
Harold Goldberg.
on... Yeah.
Tell later.
It's available now on Xbox and Steam. Check it out. I still really like this game. Played more at the launch party just because they had like an old build of it there. Where it's like, hey, just survive as long as you can. Still satisfying. We actually had somebody here who played it. Grizzled Gaming says, hey, MinnMaxers, thanks again for the Hyperdot giveaway. I said it in the Discord, but it needs to be said to the general public. The 4-player couch co-op set to random is crazy fun. My family has had hours of fun playing this way. It's the perfect family couch co-op game. I've legitimately had people 7 to 70 play it, and every one of them has had a blast. I know it sounds like I'm being a shill, but if you're looking for a great couch co-op game or competitive game, I highly recommend everyone go to the dot, says Grizzled Gaming. That's very sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah, still super fun because you can just set like all the parameters to random, and then it's just like, okay, first to 10, first to 15, whatever you want to play there.
Yeah, we had a good time on the Goaty hunt playing
Yeah, that's
against
right.
each other.
You can check it out there. And they could use more reviews on Steam. So if you do check out Hyperdot, which we do recommend, it's made in Minnesota, and I do think it's a good game, leave a review on Steam. That'd be great. And if you don't want to buy it, you want to get around this whole system, we are still doing giveaways thanks to the fine folks at Glitch who published Hyperdot here. So if you tweet out this episode of the MinnMax Show, either audio or video, whichever one you want, and tweet out whatever you want, and then put hashtag Hyperdot in there, no space, we'll choose our favorite and then send you a Steam code. We only have Steam codes left, but the good news is this game will run on absolutely everything. So if you're interested in that, tweet out the MinnMax Show, put Hyperdot, hashtag Hyperdot in there, and you're in the running for a code. Very cool. Also, hey, Riley Hill from Superhero Cinema Scoop. He says, Superhero Cinema Scoop is proud to sponsor MinnMax. Superhero Cinema Scoop is a YouTube channel dedicated to bringing you all the latest news about upcoming superhero movies, shows, and video games. Stories from Marvel, DC, Image, Valiant, IDW, and many more are covered. Videos are uploaded at least once a week, and now there is a new audio-only version available on most major podcast streaming services. Superhero Cinema Scoop is the perfect all-in-one place for comic book movie fans, and remember, that's cinema spelled with an S. Thank you so much for your support, Riley Hale and Superhero Cinema Scoop. As Geoff likes to point out, the most interesting point about this supporter is that stuff is free.
Their stuff is free.
So just go leave a nice comment on Superhero Cinema Scoop on YouTube. I know Riley, he'll really appreciate it. He has a video up that includes that rumor. Did you hear about this, Kyle?
Yes.
That Sam Raimi is in talks to direct Doctor Strange 2?
I'm all about it.
That's a weird one. The idea of like, I guess not so weird.
I don't feel like that's weird. Like he does weird horror movies. It seems like maybe.
But just the idea of him being brought into the MCU when he was so important to relatively early Marvel filmmaking with the Spider-Man series. Obviously,
I think it's a little weird because he is an auteur. I guess you could argue, and I don't. And like Marvel movies are very homogenized and like look very similar. And I think if
you're
he
saying
made
they're just amusement park rides,
I like Marvel movies, but I mean they all look very similar and feel very similar. And I think if it's going to be a Sam Raimi movie, I don't think it will. Like, I want that. I want a Sam Raimi Doctor Strange movie, and I feel like that doesn't mesh with Marvel's larger goal. Like, I think it's the reason that we didn't get the Edgar Wright Ant-Man, which I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see the Edgar Wright Ant-Man.
But this feels more like an Iron Man 3 Shane Black situation, who's also a pretty specific type of director being brought on for the third Iron Man movie. What can you do? But like, you can't watch that movie and not say, hey, this is a Shane Black movie.
Yeah.
It takes place during Christmas, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, right. I would love to see Sam Raimi make that movie, and I hope it feels different than other Marvel movies. It would be my grand hope for that.
I would imagine that they're probably giving him more creative reign just because it's the first movie post Endgame. Right?
Well,
they might be trying to hit something
Far
different
From
now.
Home is still like in that they still consider it part of the like that first right, like that's in the end game sort of.
Yes, it's not. It's at the end of that phase
Yeah.
yet. But no, I mean they're going to be having the Eternals this year and stuff. So there's stuff coming before this, but it is coming up quick. So
it does
it's
feel like
curious to
they're
see them
burying
shaking
that
around.
movie.
I mean, I think they're going to be pushing it hard. Didn't you
Eternals?
see that veiny picture of Kumail Nanjiani? They couldn't bury that if they tried. Anyways, also, welcome to our new sponsor, I Am 8-Bit, supporting us in a big way. Thank you so much, I Am 8-Bit. They're a creative production company and art gallery out there in California. They've been a huge help with Extra Life throughout the years, donating a ton of amazing things to raise money for charity. And again, you can go to iam8bit.com, check out their store, and buy things like, they have the Cuphead soundtrack on vinyl, physical versions of Grim Fandango inside. They have that Inside Collector's Edition thing, Kyle, which is crazy.
I know. That thing's
Tons
insane.
of cool vinyls, like a lot of Sony vinyls, like Uncharted soundtrack, Last Guardian soundtrack, stuff like that. And if you use the promo code MinnMax, one more time, that's promo code
MinnMax.
There
two
we
N's.
go. You got it. You get 10% off your entire order for everyone, one use per customer, but check it out. Also, Kentucky Route Zero, the physical edition on PlayStation 4 and Switch, and also the vinyl version of the soundtrack from Cardboard Computer and Annapurna, of course. You can check that out at I Am 8-Bit store. Very exciting. And they insist that for more information on the Kentucky Route Zero physical version and soundtrack, please call 1-858-943-6579. That's 1-858-943-6579.
Why are you saying that in such a sinister way?
I'm just saying,
There's
call the
something going
phone
on.
number, everybody.
He knows more than he's letting on.
Thank you so much, I Am 8-Bit. And we should all be very thankful because I Am 8-Bit has brought back Question of the Week to this format, to the podcast. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you can leave a comment or question for us to cover on the back half of the MinnMax show, and then we're going to choose our absolute favorite, and then I Am 8-Bit will ship something out real nice. Kyle, do you want to grab...
Ship something real nice on?
You want to go grab that vinyl that's facing you?
Ooh,
right
it does
there?
feel good.
This week from I Am 8-Bit, we are going to be shipping out the vinyl soundtrack to Sword and Sorcery. Do you remember how good the soundtrack is?
It slaps.
It is amazing. It's Jim Guthrie is the
I've listened to
composer.
the soundtrack more than I've actually played the game.
Yeah. And so again, we'll choose our absolute favorite email submission and then ship this out to them. Thanks to I Am 8-Bit. Very sweet.
right?
I'm excited to do this because it feels like late night talk show host, and they bring out like the new album or something, or they have a picture, like Jay
Right.
Leno would always have like articles on a cardboard that he would hold up for the camera. So
Yeah,
Save that for your
headlines, our
next
favorite
segment.
section.
yeah,
from our show. Anyways, let's get to the community stuff, huh? Which, by the way, Flaming Queso friend of the show in the Discord and stuff over there, which you get access to if you support us on Patreon. He recommended like, hey, just call this section of the podcast the MinnBox.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, yeah,
Hang on.
inbox. It took me a minute. I thought it was like a suggestion card box or something. I was trying to find the pun. Yes.
Do y'all like that?
Yeah,
MinnBox?
MinnBox is
it's
good.
very
It's
good.
Yeah.
Okay, opening the MinnBox. Here we go. Henry Chandler says, "Dear Ben and all the great MinnMaxers,
That's us.
to the MinnMaxers out there, what's a super niche or unique feature you want from either the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X? We've talked enough about the tech specs and backwards compatibility. What's a super specific feature that would make you prefer one over the other?"
Ooh.
Niche feature.
Well, Jack, we were talking about before we started because you're
Right.
playing Final Fantasy 12.
Right.
Ooh, how's that? Real
Zodiac
quick.
Age. On on the PlayStation 4, you can double the speed not because of anything inherent to the PlayStation 4 itself.
This is a new
but-
feature for that HD.
Yeah,
re-release,
for the game.
For all the Final Fantasy remasters, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
On the Switch, though, you can go up to ×4 speed.
What? It's different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it got Kyle and I thinking, that would be a handy feature in a lot of games.
Yeah, just like JRPGs, like even modern ones, like on the next gen consoles.
So you
just-
want like the format that a lot of people are listening to this podcast in, which is at
1.5
2 times speed or
I
1.75.
think
You want
so.
that, but for all games as an option?
Well,
As
it
an
wouldn't work
option.
with all games.
Yeah.
But like if it's like a lot
but
of
baked into the hardware.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, why-
I mean,
why
kind
not?
of a weird thing.
You know,
Niche.
God. Remember when people, like directors, threatened to riot when Netflix was toying around with the idea of speeding things up? Game developers would lose their mind, right?
I don't think game developers care as much. I think game developers are very much play the game that you want to play, how you want to play it. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
get joy out of watching people play their game in new and unique ways. Where
Yeah.
where Christopher Nolan would rip his hair out if he saw you watching Inception on your cell phone on a train.
plus, like, cheats that speed things up have always been a part of games.
Yeah.
If not always, then from very early on. So it's just like making it more accessible from the get-go and building it into the hardware so that every game has that option.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a weird one, but
yeah, I
an
wonder
odd
if it's
idea.
also a tech issue. And maybe everything will be so great on the next gen that it won't be an issue. But, it's like, okay, you're playing God of War, for example, on PS4. Can you run that at 2 times speed, or would your PS4 just catch on fire?
Explode.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the idea. And I like
try it
like
out.
there being an arms race between the consoles too. Of like
Which can
we
go
have
faster.
times 6 speed. Oh yeah, times 7. And now it just gets like,
well, yeah, it's unplayable on our
yeah.
platform.
You don't even notice you played a game on our platform.
And like maybe hand in hand with that goes maybe you can play some games on a slower speed.
Half speed. Call of Duty.
You know,
but only me. Everyone else has played
Right,
normal speed.
multiplayer,
Yeah.
very smart.
But
very
like,
smart.
but that would play into like an accessibility type thing, like
I like
slowing
it.
down gameplay could
I
make
like it.
more accessible.
I was gonna say optical out, but this is up there too.
Also, simplifying capture mechanics. You know what I mean? Like, I love that you can capture footage and everything, but like, far and away, the Switch I feel like is the best in terms of capturing screenshots quickly and like saving gameplay footage quickly.
But I what I don't like about the Switch is that I can't upload it privately. Whereas with PlayStation, for like
Can.
clips and stuff, I can make it unlisted on YouTube. You can do that on Switch? 'Cause I
So
can find a way to
the
do
way I
it.
usually do it is like screenshots you can like tweet out and stuff like that. But the way I have it set up on my Switch is I just send everything to Facebook and it posts to Facebook as so only I see it.
Oh, so in the Facebook settings, you can choose only I see it?
But I think your point is still very valid, though, is that it is that's like a weird, complicated way I figured out to do it. You know what I mean? To send it to Facebook privately.
I just want an option there to upload to my Google Drive. And I feel like we can't be that far away from
yeah,
that,
I mean,
right?
like, because I think Microsoft won't do that because they want you to use their proprietary, which is like, for whatever reason, that takes forever. I don't know
does,
why.
yeah.
I don't know why it takes so long
Even
with Xbox.
screenshots can
Yeah.
take a long time.
But yeah,
which
like
is weird.
that'd be great if like just pressing the button on Switch, for example, just sent it to your Google Drive and you could pull it up on your phone. Very
Yeah,
easily.
100%.
Just streamline that process. Just make it much easier. Yeah.
Also, how about, I don't think it exists in a form that would make sense, but a good microphone, like either built into the controller or some kind of headset, just so that everyone playing has a nice microphone.
Default solid mic. I mean,
Yeah.
PlayStation
Yeah.
has like the PlayStation branded headsets and stuff, but you want...
Which is it's fine.
Yeah, and it's not it's not what comes with the console.
You
get
want
like
that
the
gross
crappy earpiece,
tampon you shove in your ear or
so
whatever?
everyone sounds like they're speaking over like the McDonald's intercom. It's like,
What if it's like a separate piece that like is like a microphone that you like put on top of your TV? Like maybe it could have like a camera in it or two or something.
I think that's just a webcam.
Moving
Kyle.
on, Tanner
Connect to everybody.
Hoisington. Kyle,
Everyone
I was
loves
with you,
Connect.
buddy. I was with you. Tanner Hoisington. It's pronounced Hoisington. Tanner says, no, you didn't say that. Just a funny last name. Anyways, Mr. Hoisington, there always seemed to be some hesitation by games personalities to long for the old practices of gaming at the risk of seeming, quote, out of touch. Or maybe in other cases, they're too willing to accept the status quo. Screw that. Are there any aspects of modern games that you look at and feel like this used to be done better, be it industry practices or gameplay mechanics from the past?
I feel like general level design is kind of a dying art. to a certain
General
degree.
level design.
Yeah, just
What does
like
that mean?
the layout of a level. So many games rely on randomization of levels that like it's rare now these days that I play a game that I'm like, I really like the layout of this like setting. You know what I mean?
Jedi Fallen Order do it for you?
Jedi Fallen Order was pretty good, but it was like it was like dense and like the map was not great. You
Sure.
stuff like Control like didn't work as well as like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean
There were parts
Yeah.
of Control that worked really well, but like overall,
yeah.
you mean?
It's just been a while since I've played through it, like because everyone's like moving towards open world and like larger spaces. It's like I like a really well designed sort of compressed.
God of War?
Yeah, God of War actually. Yeah, that's like a recent example.
And
probably.
I think that's also a function of games just trying to look more realistic too. Whereas
Yeah.
like a facility level in Doom was still just all about how, these corridors intersect with each other. And if you have a facility level in a modern game, it has to look like a facility. And they spend all
Right.
the time on like, well, here are these tanks and this computer controls the tanks and all,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. You're not worrying as much about like, well, this leads to a square room and the
Line of
hallways come in
sight
this
and
way.
stuff like
and,
that.
yeah.
Like you listen to like Portal 2 commentary, and so much of it is like we want to make sure the player sees this when they're in this position, and like we'll give them a hint about how to get through here.
Well, that's an
and,
awesome example of not needing it to be a real space. Well, for
Yeah.
parts of it at least.
Yeah. Like it functioned better because they weren't trying to fill it with extra detail
Yeah.
necessarily. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Also, how we used to sell video games used to be better.
Oh,
Yeah.
that.
Just as a generic blanket. And I talked in the Chrono Trigger one, but the kind of quest design and how you kind of convey that information or don't over convey it.
An emphasis
I think-
on subtle exploration without
Yeah.
complete freedom.
Yeah, have people figure stuff out because most gamers are smart and they can do that if you're not constantly holding their hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of on top of what both of you were talking about. I miss when you had to like, and I know why they don't do it because it is horribly inconvenient, but there was something really satisfying about like encountering a world where, hey, pull out a piece of paper and take your own notes and like figuring out how that world is connected with itself for yourself.
yeah.
And it's inconvenient, but it's also very satisfying.
But people like that Etrian Odyssey nonsense, right?
Where you draw your own
Draw
map
the
in
map,
the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Well, even in our Chrono Trigger discussions, which check out the deepest dive for the last level of Chrono Trigger. You were talking about how like not necessarily having like waypoints and like a list of objectives like made you engage with the game more, which is kind of like taking notes and things like that. Like it lets you engage with the game more. So
Yeah.
there's a middle ground there because you don't want to take away too much or it gets
Right.
frustrating.
Mason Cowell says, hello, everybody. What is your fondest gaming marathon memory? Mine is either putting 30 hours into Pokemon Shield on release weekend or a similar amount of time in 2 days following the Skyrim Midnite release. I love that one is so recent. 30 hours. Man, I mean, not to keep bringing up Chrono Trigger, but I mean, I played through that final chunk in one day. It was like over 10 hours or so of just Chrono Trigger in one day. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Went through a lot of good podcasts too in that time. It was really wonderful.
The one I always think was Halo 2 was like probably the last time I just like beat a game basically in one sitting. Picked it up at midnight, like made sure that like saved up, because in college the classes would be like you're allowed like 3 absences or whatever in these classes. Like I made sure to save up that semester to make sure I could take the next day off, and even got ahead of like schoolwork and stuff like that, and just play the whole thing in one sitting. And I remember like having my mind blown that like you don't play as Master Chief for a huge portion of that game.
Yeah.
Like total surprise. And I remember like super late at night being like, what? I'm not Master Chief anymore? This is insane.
I'm losing my mind.
I'm an elite?
Is Keith Devin the voice of the Arbiter guy?
Yeah.
Isn't it? That's so weird.
Is that Keith?
Yeah, I think of basically every time that my brother and I rented a console, which I mentioned earlier. Like that's how we played the Nintendo and part of the Super Nintendo generation, which is we could only rent games, and so then you have like a weekend, and that's all you're doing that weekend.
Yeah, the best.
For me, it was specifically Mass Effect 2. I remember being just so excited for that I like. Kind of like what you did, Kyle. Like, just cleared my schedule. Like, this is what I'm gonna be doing. And like 2 days later, I just emerged from my room in a daze, and it was a really
You're
good
like,
time.
I think I died at the beginning. I don't even remember.
Stud Muffin writes in and says, "What is the most disappointing instance of a playable trade show demo never seeing the light of day? Mine was going to E3 in 2011, the year the Wii U was unveiled. Many of the tech demos were compiled into Game & Wario, but there's an interactive Zelda experience where you could watch a cinematic and move the camera or adjust the settings like the lighting and the game engine. It looks so much better than Twilight Princess HD did years later. I never bought that remake out of spite." Do you remember that demo? Were you there for that one,
No,
Kyle?
I was not. That was before my time,
Okay.
but I watched it closely from a distance and have since like looked up full playthroughs of it.
This one, there's like a
hand quotes.
spider and stuff?
Yeah, it was all just to show off the engine.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Stud Muffin takes their anger out on the Twilight Princess re-release because it's like they're totally separate things. Like
You got to direct the rage somewhere. I totally get it. I'm mad
that's
they
a
never,
great example, though. Yeah.
They never did anything with that bird demo. Remember that same E3? It was like the Wii U,
yeah.
like follow the bird through the garden. But the one I think of immediately was E3 last year, where before
The Elden Ring, right?
Elden Ring. Yes, the one that'll never come out to Marchiafava.
From
No,
Software World.
it was before you got to play Final Fantasy VII. They recreated like a subway, and they had like a waiting station, like, oh, wait for the train in Midgar to board your next demo express or whatever. And they sat everybody down, and like it was a cool like little booth layout. And then they had a screen where it's like Shinra propaganda about Shinra, the greatest company in the world. Check out Shinra, everybody.
Oh, they got Trey Parker.
I don't know how they did it.
Amazing.
He's voicing Kate Sith. No, and then it like interrupts, and then it's the very classic thing where it's like, is this thing on? Did we manage to break through? This is Jessie from Avalanche. And they have Jessie from Final Fantasy VII like hacking into it. And then she's like delivering this mission breakdown of part Avalanche stuff, but then also like how to play the demo.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
oh, you got to press triangle. But like in that, she was also like being flirty towards Cloud and kind of hinting towards how their relationship's going to be quite a bit different in the remake and stuff. And in the background, they had like, I'm trying to remember. It was, I can't remember which track it was. I think it was from the Coral Reactor. And it was like this subtle remix of this awesome track from Final Fantasy VII. It was like this awesome presentation. It's nowhere. Like
It's
it
not
was
gonna be
never
the final
released. They
game.
made it clear that you could not film it. I'm like, God, I regret not just recording the audio on my phone, because hopefully that awesome remix track is going to be in the game somewhere, because if it's just made for this E3 demo, I hope at some point Square releases that, because it's a really fun little piece of lore with them.
I don't really have like a great answer, but like one weird thing when we went to the Jedi Fallen Order cover trip, one thing they had, like one of the ways that the thing that we ended up playing the most was just this like arena that they set up for like Leo and Ryder and I, where it was just like, you just fought wave after wave
It was
of
at
enemy.
E3 too.
Yeah, okay, because they had talked about that because they were still deliberating. They were like, we think we want to give this to people before they play like the larger demo to just let them get a sense of how the combat works and stuff like that. But like, and it was fun. It was very simple. Like, you know, I've seen that like God of War usually includes a mode like this where it's like, hey, you know, outside of the campaign, just see how long you can last against all these waves and stuff
and
like
then
that.
it's nowhere in Fallen
As
Order.
far as I know, it's not like an unlockable thing or anything. And it was very simple. Like what they like, even like the assets for the walls and stuff were not completed. It was just like a cliff face that you would like fall off of into oblivion. But like, but as just an opportunity to like try out different combat and like see how many waves we could get. Like Leo and I had fun like trying to see how far we could get and stuff like that. Like it would have been fun to see that in the final game, just as a bonus thing after you beat it or something.
Yeah, for sure. Caleb Weisberger says, Ben and cohorts, I bumped up to the $5 tier to play along with Chrono Trigger and have been slowly going back through the old previous MinnFax. which is our weekly Q&A. $20 supporters can jump in and ask us questions and call in. We'll have them on the show. Anyways, a couple weeks ago, you made the statement that, quote, if you are listening to the audio version of this on the Patreon player, you are doing it wrong. And you were right. I was doing it wrong. Thank you for explaining what an RSS feed is. Yes, please put that custom RSS feed link into your podcast player and listen to the bonus stuff that way. It's much better. If you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. But Caleb says, what times can you remember when you were completely ignorant in the face of new technology, or you realized that you were doing something totally ass backwards? I prefer bass backwards, by the way. But what do you guys think of?
Definitely the first time I tried playing through Dark Souls. Like, I just did not get what they were trying to do with the game.
You're trying to have fun with the game?
Well, I was trying to go down the route with the skeletons right at the beginning, and I just walked away from the game thinking, this is really dumb. And it wasn't really until the next game came out that I realized, oh, I understand what I was doing wrong.
Reframe everything. Yeah. Yeah, the tech thing is interesting. Thinking about like technology in general, like outside of gameplay even.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Does anything come to mind?
In Chrono Trigger, remember we learned how you could swap out parties in much easier ways than you and I were doing.
After you guys beat the game.
You don't have to go to the end of time every time. Yeah.
Yeah. I got nothing.
Great.
Sorry.
Fabled Ursa says, hey, if your high school mascots were in an all-out death match, which would emerge victorious?
I had an eagle,
Okay.
like a man-sized eagle.
Oh, wait, we're taking size into account? I had a wildcat, the NLS Wildcats, and it was like a mountain-sized wildcat.
Oh, okay. I was, for freshman, sophomore, I was a tiger. Just a tiger-sized tiger.
You were the tiger?
No, I was not the tiger.
Oh, okay.
But and then for junior, senior, I went to a different high school where we were the knights. So
you have to choose.
We were
Hang on,
also
no-
knights.
Ooh,
In
okay,
full
so go with
armor,
tiger.
so-
I'll go tiger. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have eagle versus wildcat versus knight versus tiger?
That's a Taika Waititi movie. I think.
It's an Animorphs book, I think.
Eagle versus shark was the joke.
Oh, that's good. What about how long is that night lasting? Eagle, I'm not worried about at all.
Really?
But
like
it's a large eagle.
man-sized eagle?
Where are you
wouldn't
getting
be
this man-sized
intimidated.
thing from? Just because it was a mask? I mean,
it was a man. Like, it didn't specify if it was the actual thing. It's the mascot.
so you have to choose. Are you choosing an actual eagle or a man in an eagle costume?
Yeah.
What is your weapon?
Exactly.
No, I'm saying you need to choose,
A
Jack.
man in an eagle costume.
Okay.
Okay, so the knight
much more
stabs him
intimidating.
immediately, and then you're out of
With
it,
the
Jack.
lance, yeah.
Now,
Tiger versus knight.
not... Yeah. Oh.
Tiger-sized tiger.
I think the real question is, what is a wildcat, and is it also a tiger?
wildcat is
It's
like
just
a cougar.
It's smaller than a tiger.
Yeah, it's smaller
right?
than a tiger.
It's not an animal, though, is it?
Yeah,
wildcat?
What do you think
Yeah,
it is?
It's got kind of
It's
like
like a-
sharper, like it's
It's kind of like a
You're thinking of a
bobcat.
bobcat.
But a wildcat is like a bobcat.
yeah.
I think a wildcat's just a term for a bunch of wild cats.
Are you thinking it's like a mob
No.
of cats?
It is. It is a species complex comprising two small wild cats.
Okay, well, click the Wikipedia link and let's see if there's an image.
This is the first time I've ever clicked on this Wikipedia article. It just says Hanson's right.
Oh, well, actually, I'm the winner, honestly, unless it comes down to knight versus tiger at this
Wildcat
point.
is apparently very small. It's
Yeah,
two
it's just a
small
cat.
wildcat. I never
Are you
knew
just
this.
arguing that it's just a wild cat and you think that's better for you than a bobcat?
Well, I thought it was like encompassing like lions and tigers and a bunch of just cool
No.
big things.
No.
I've been living a lie. My mascot sucks.
Yeah, you
you
thought
can
it was
step on this.
mountain-sized.
Okay, so now it's
It's a knight. The knight wins.
I guess
He's in,
versus
versus a tiger?
yeah, he's
No
in
way.
full armor.
A tiger
Yeah, but
would
against a
annihilate him.
tiger?
Yeah.
A tiger would take out a dude
You
in
think
full
a
armor.
knight can't beat a tiger?
Yes.
No.
That's exactly what I think.
you seen how big a
man.
tiger is?
A tiger's not even going to attack a knight.
All right,
This
I
will.
doubt.
let's
doubt
pull up
that.
what's a total accurate battle simulator. You can probably get knights and tigers going in there, right?
But hang on. Okay, looking at average knight, I think just the force of a tiger tackling a knight.
You think
Your
like
stupid
a
helmet
You
would fall
assume that a
off.
tiger's going to tackle a knight to begin with.
They're in a battle royale.
They're fighting.
yeah?
A tiger's just going to try and run away.
What?
Have you?
It's not like a prey-predator situation here.
Since when do tigers run away from
You're
things?
changing the rules.
Tigers
Yeah.
run away from things
No.
all the time.
You have
They just
catnip
have
in
a,
your boxers.
They have a They have a bad rap when it comes to PR. They need better PR.
All right,
it's just a big cat.
Let's throw you in knight armor, okay? Let's put you in
Let's put you inside of a tiger, Kyle.
Take a trip to the Minnesota Zoo.
Closed arena. Tiger gets hungry after a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely. And he knows there's a man in there. He can smell your fear.
Dude,
I think he tackles you. Your stupid helmet falls off, and then it's game over.
A freaking zookeeper takes care of a tiger.
What is this
Like
propaganda
you just
you're
shoot him with a little
spilling?
stun gun.
Why are you?
A veterinarian can take down
So
a tiger.
a knight does not have a stun gun, though.
Yeah, he's got a lance that's like 6 feet long.
You're so wrong.
What? Yeah, you just have no fear of tigers? What is this?
No.
We got a surprise for you. Come on in, Tiger. All right, Matt Gittins.
What a weird conversation we just have. Are we ready to move on from this? I'm just insisting that tigers are not violent creatures.
That's right. Greetings, fine gentlemen. I have a question for you. With all the time travel antics involved with Chrono Trigger and the fact that this is my first playthrough, I thought of this question. If you could go back in time and let past you play one game, past or present, what game would you pick to improve your life now? I like the idea of
Improve my life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loose term.
It's almost as if that wasn't part of the question when we all heard it
Okay,
earlier.
buddy. What would you want to send yourself?
Improve my life.
I mean, improve. Playing good games improves your life.
I mean, I would want to show them like the evolution of something. You know what I mean? Like, look at this is what games will look like in the future. But I don't know if it would improve my life necessarily. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
I would go. I would go back in time to my 6-year-old self and give him Red Dead Redemption 2 and say, "You have to play this." So that I will have played it in the future and actually beaten it. And it will take that long.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Please, before your wedding day, have finished Red Dead Redemption 2. It's all I ask. I mean, I figured you'd just say Breath of the Wild or something, Kyle.
Yeah, just say
Yeah,
Breath
that'd
of
be
the
cool.
Wild.
Okay, great.
That'd be mind blowing. But would it improve my life?
Also,
Brain
I would.
There you go, brain age.
There you go.
All right.
I would choose Dreams too. I think that would be one that would blow my mind.
that would
as
be
a
so
kid.
much fun as a kid to have
Yeah.
dreams.
Ooh, what about,
Gotta have
though, if we're
dreams.
leaning into the improvement angle, what about Rocksmith?
Oh, that'd be
just learn
cool.
to
Teach you how to
guitar.
play guitar? We'd all be superstars. That's right. Xavier Perez says, hello, crew. With some downtime in between major game releases, I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for my Switch a couple weeks ago. It's an okay game. But with nothing else that I really want to play, I find myself doing a completionist run. Oh my God.
Oh, dear.
And I have over 120 hours in it already. My question is this. What game have you put an excessive amount of time, hours into that you haven't really loved? Not counting the ones you had to review. Thank you.
Yeah, it closes the door in a big bad way.
I think Tiny Tower on mobile. If we
Oh.
count mobile games,
Of course, yeah.
that's the like. I probably put hundreds of hours into something that I was thinking like, why am I still doing this? There's no
Right.
point to this. you know?
Yeah. I guess, mobile does get messy with this stuff. Even like Jurassic Park Builder on mobile is the most I think I ever played one of those free-to-play games, and like, it's not good in
They
any
get you.
way.
Yep.
Yeah, but I remember stopping my bike on bike rides to like check the eggs and all that nonsense. It's no good. Otherwise,
I'm trying to think. Like, there must have been a mediocre JRPG I played at some point. It
right.
was just way too much time investment.
Otagi Shadow King. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of games when you're a kid too, right? Where it's just like, well, this is all I have, so I'm just gonna play this over and over.
Eternal Eyes for the PlayStation 1.
What is that?
It is a turn-based tactical JRPG where you play as someone who can imbue wooden puppets with magic and turn them into monsters.
Okay.
And they become like your army.
So what is the pun played? How does that play into it?
I don't think that there was any.
There's no like inner turmoil, internal eyes.
No, Eternal
interesting.
Eyes.
Or was that just?
I think it was just called that.
Googling it, it seems like it's a bad game.
It's not
oh,
great.
that box art is rough.
Yeah,
I remember.
it's
I
really
recognize
not
that
great.
box art.
Oh man!
Yeah.
All right, I got to put that on the screen. That's
I think
so
I played
bad.
through it twice, and that is
wow.
far too much time to have put into that game ever.
Wow. Eternal Eyes. I was thinking of like recent stuff where it's like a decent amount of time, but I didn't really love it. I think like Monster Hunter World is up there for me.
Really?
And we did like a game club, so maybe it doesn't really count, but I think I was really trying to muster up enthusiasm. But in terms of games that I spent, like 40 hours with, and it's like,
I have had a couple of those where I keep playing. I'm like, I still don't get it. You know?
Oh, Death Stranding?
No, Death Stranding, I crossed a line where I really enjoyed it, but like, I've gotten a lot better at just like backing away from those games where it's just like I'm not gonna like this. But there was one. What's the mobile game where it's like from the people that made Clash Royale, Battle. You know, like everyone had thought
Clash of Clans.
No, is it Clash Royale? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It is Clash
Yeah,
Royale.
that was one that I really was like put a lot of hours into, and then like crossed a line one day where I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't think I get it. I'm just gonna delete this. You know.
Right.
Where everyone around me was like just losing their mind over the future of RTSs, you know?
Yeah, but they also kind of hated it too.
That is true.
Like, The
That is
Office
true.
had a lot of trash talk about that game as they were playing it
Constantly.
everywhere.
Right. The mark of a good game.
Yep.
Robbie Flanagan.
Cookie clicker.
Yeah,
Oh,
Robbie
Robbie.
Flanagan. What's that?
I know Robbie.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Good
Is he
person.
cool?
Yeah, he seems nice.
Seriously,
Alright.
is it cool? Oh, the shrug.
I'm sorry.
Well, we like Robbie. I don't know about Jack. Anyways, Robbie Flanagan says, hello, CLC Music Factory. Very good. On a scale of 1 to 6, of course, 1 being not at all likely and 6 being an absolute lock, what do you think of the following? Let's see. Will the subsequent episodes of Final Fantasy VII Remake release every year starting in 2021?
0.
All right. Will EA/Bioware try and boost goodwill by finally announcing Mass Effect HD Collection in 2020?
4.
1.
4.
Well, that's a 6. We already announced that was
Oh,
happening.
that's on the
Alright.
predictions.
Yeah, sorry,
Sorry,
Jack,
you're
you
right.
didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
Oh,
that's a fact.
Will there be a major studio release on Stadia anytime in 2020 or 2021?
1.
Major studio release.
1.
1.
Like an exclusive one to Stadia?
Major.
I think that's still like 2 or 3 years away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the term major is kind of squishy, but like,
Yeah.
not this year, certainly.
Major squishy. And finally, if there is a great reception to Resident Evil 3 Remake, oh, that's very fun. I haven't heard people call it that yet. And Capcom is so inclined, will we see a Resident Evil 4 remake in the next 3 to 5 years?
No,
I'd say
I would say 5.
4.
I say 2, 3.
Okay.
I think they would maybe go back to Code Veronica before they would go to 4. Maybe.
But you think
But
of
it could
the
still happen in 3 to 5 years.
I mean,
That's true, that's
people
true.
love 4 so much.
think of the amount of
can't see
money
them
they'd
not
make
doing
from
it.
4 versus
Yeah.
Code Veronica.
No, it's
Right.
the thing is, it's like they're still making money from 4 though. Like,
Yeah,
they
but
still,
there you could make Buco Dolores.
It's 4. Like, I played it as recently as a year ago. Like, that game holds up so well that I struggle to even imagine what a remake would look like, other than just visual improvements.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, people would still throw their money at that.
oh yeah, no, I would, but it's just
It's still a hot 5.
I agree.
Hot
It doesn't-
6.
It's not going to be like a huge leap.
yeah.
but
like,
at the same
it won't
time,
be as substantial as the 2 or 3.
a better
remake,
looking
yeah.
version of 4, I'll pay $60 for again. I think so many
Yeah.
people in the world would absolutely do
Look,
that.
I'd
right?
pay up to 75.
Hey, maybe
that right?
maybe even updating some of those QuickTime events so they aren't quite as QuickTimey.
Been a long time, comrade. Oh God, again. Thomas Derenek says, "Hi, MinnMax crew. I'll start by saying I can't wait to see the new logo and merch. Do you have any estimations on the release of that? Good question. I'm gonna go with probably early March. Playing a little bit safe, but I've seen some of the merch trickle
Max?
in. What's that?
March Max?
Oh, I thought you. Hang on. You said some pun, and I thought of a better pun that I thought you said, which was Merch Madness, which is a very good idea. Hang on, let me write this down. Merch Madness. So probably something around that. Anyways, very exciting shirts on the horizon, and it'll be nice to have a good visual overhaul from MinnMax and stuff. So it's coming in hot, but we're getting it done. It's an interesting process. Interesting.
Seems like you're enjoying it.
I am. But I get stressed out like, oh, is the graphic designer stressed out? Am I stressed out? You know, I want to make sure it's cool.
Yeah,
You just want to make sure that it's cool.
everyone's cool.
Anyways, Thomas
Like
says,
Robbie.
for my actual question, though, I was thinking about a couple episodes back when y'all mentioned that Rogue is probably the most talked about and least played game, which got me thinking, what would be a better name for that genre other than roguelike?
Frustrating.
He suggests the fail loop genre, the repeat
good.
genre, the one more run genre. I think
I like
something
repeat, honestly.
I like the run. You could just
Yeah.
call it the run genre, right?
But then it's like auto runners and
Okay.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoots of the world.
The one run genre?
One run.
One more run, but you're like
Well, that's
Get
what,
taken
Yeah,
up.
because you have to do everything in one run.
yeah. But one
before it
run is
resets.
I actually kind of like one run.
but that feels
Is
too
it a one runner?
limiting. I don't think so. I don't think
The
so.
reset, just stick with roguelike.
Roguelike it is,
Yeah.
but good idea, Thomas. Thank you. Juan Rojam? Juan, how'd you pronounce that?
Are you having a stroke?
How'd you pronounce it?
Juan
Rolone? Rolone Jr.? And then it has to be said as Sean Connery.
Junior.
Saying, hey, crew, Geoff brought up an interesting point during the Game of the Year talks regarding how you'd anticipate others championing a game back at GI when it came down to the award giving at the end of the year, and therefore trust in their opinions when the subject about its validity was contested. Now that you're a much smaller team, do you feel any pressure to play more than you normally do in order to give you some insight to the possible contenders for Game of the Year? Yeah.
I think we all do, but not because we have to, not for the sake of arguing against other people. I think it sometimes fell into that category at Game Informer, but I think we just want all of us to play as much of these games as we can so that we can talk about them competently.
I'm trying to think of like the actual difference that it makes, because I do a lot of playing the first couple hours of a game, stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know if I would have actually played through Control if I didn't feel like, I feel like I need to speak to this. Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea. I'm not a huge Remedy person, but then playing it, I was like, I really love it. It's one of my favorite games of the year.
But you love like Twin Peaks and stuff, right?
No, I do not.
Oh,
I've
really?
never seen Twin Peaks.
All right. Then.
I'm sorry. But so, yeah, a little bit of pressure. But I don't feel like, oh, God, I need to go completely outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I didn't feel compelled to check out War Groove in retrospect or anything.
We're all also trying to be healthy about it as well. But I think like outside of Surreal being the fighting game guy, which we still, Hanson, you played Mortal Kombat and kind of tried to keep up on that stuff. We don't have any like super niche experts, and so we just try and everybody play a little of as much stuff as we can.
There it is.
Be able to talk about it.
James Smith says, hey, Handsome and the status cohorts. Sure.
Okay.
Can you make a bunch of dumb faces so we can make emotes for the Discord? Now, look, this is a lot. This is way too much pressure.
Yeah.
And everybody
We
just
do
wants...
it all the time anyway.
Yeah, everybody just wants Jeffem's face anyway, so I'll go man the camera and zoom it in on Jeffem's
No, come on.
face. Okay.
Are you ready? Happy. Sad. Angry. Taking a poop.
That was the same. Yeah. I don't know.
That is art.
We did it.
Incredible.
There we go.
That
we
is
did it.
art.
There you go, Discord.
Have
enjoy
at it.
that.
There's already like 100 emojis of me to begin with.
That was 100 more.
Great.
Mark Ramirez says, hey, Ben and cohort loving computers. On MinnMax this week, Ben said he's never seen Stranger Things. Look at this.
You did.
What is
Brag.
the biggest TV show you've missed out on in the last few years? And do you regret it? For me, it would be Game of Thrones. I hope you regret it, because Game of Thrones is great. I don't care what people say about the finale.
Yeah, mine is Watchmen, because you guys won't stop talking about it, and you have to give me your uncle's login. Come on.
Asking for my uncle's login.
Definitely Breaking Bad.
Oh.
Yeah. I also
Any
haven't seen
temptation?
Stranger Things.
Oh.
Yeah.
Am I missing out by not watching Stranger Things?
Stranger Things is fun.
Okay.
It's just
It's
mostly,
fine.
Yeah.
it's just mostly just that it's become so ubiquitous now. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, you just watch that opening, like, the Stranger Things title and the music. I mean, you
I get the
it.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in a weird Breaking Bad boat too, where like how many seasons are there?
6?
10?
I've
No.
There's
I
six?
don't know. I haven't seen it.
5 or
I've
6,
watched
yeah.
the first 5.5 seasons, and I have just
So you watched
forever
most of
putting
it.
off the
Close.
last half of the last season, which is
Really?
so dumb. Like
Oh,
it's so
wow.
weird. Yeah.
You don't want it to end. You want him to be making meth forever.
But it's funny because now we've hit that point where like the ending comes up casually. Like there was a Michael McKean interview on Andy Richter's podcast, and they were just sort of like dancing around how satisfying the end of Breaking Bad was, and I was like, 15 seconds, and it's like, this is stupid. Like I just need to finish it already.
Yeah, you should do that. Also, I haven't seen Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec and
That's
Twin
fine.
Peaks are up
You would
there.
love Parks
I
and
know
Rec.
I would.
Yeah.
I know I would. It made me laugh. Like, I watched one episode, I remember, years ago, and it's the hardest I've laughed at TV in years, which was the stop motion animation from Ben,
good.
which is like Requiem for a Tuesday. Like, it
Yeah.
annihilated me.
I would also really like you to finish Good Place too. I don't know. Have you finished Good Place yet?
No.
I haven't finished it yet, but I love
Good
that
Place
show.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Ending is very good.
Too busy watching Cheer on Netflix. Y'all watching that Cheer documentary series?
Oh,
It's
About
amazing.
cheers?
It's about cheerleaders.
cheerleader. Okay.
Yeah, but it's made, I think, by the same people that made like Last Chance U. If you watch that football series, which is also incredible.
I haven't seen it.
If you like sports drama and documentaries, yeah, Cheer is very, very good.
All right.
Anyways, Eric. Oh, correction. Sincerely, Eric. Interesting name. Says, what is your favorite map in any game or map feature? I've been playing Dragon Quest XI recently, and it is the first time I've thought, that's a good map. I love like Resident Evil 2's map, specifically when it lets you know that the room is clear. Like that, hey, there's something lingering in this room. Then when you get it, then it's like, okay,
Goes from red to
all
green.
done.
Yeah.
I
good.
really like Breath of the Wild's map when they updated the game to show you where you've been.
Ooh, that is cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
You know what? Someone on, I don't remember who it was, they got theirs after their whatever 100, 200 hour gameplay session and like printed it out and like framed it.
Oh, that's
which I thought
cool.
was just kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
Of like,
Yeah.
this was my experience with that game. You know?
You get the tattoo.
I'm good on tattoos, I think.
Mine was Wind Waker, just because you could write your own notes on the map, which
Yeah.
kind of goes back to that idea of like anytime a game, not just putting down a waypoint, but when you can like start marking multiple things. I can't remember which game you could also like. Well, maybe it was Breath of the Wild, where you could
you have, like, they
choose
give you
the
a handful of
symbol
symbols.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
like
it's
that
smart.
kind of stuff.
Wait, this is the Wii U version of Wind Waker. You could take notes.
Yeah, or was it? Are you thinking
Am I
of
thinking
Phantom
of-
Hourglass for
I think
DS?
you're thinking of Phantom Hourglass.
The one with the boat. You're going around on a.
There are a couple.
Yeah, I
boat.
think, but for sure, regardless
The
of which one
DS
you're
one.
thinking of,
Yeah,
Phantom
Phantom
Hourglass, you could
Hourglass.
definitely write your own
Okay,
notes and stuff, which
yeah.
is very cool. Yeah,
And then wasn't there that one puzzle where you had to slam your DS
Yes,
shot?
and that
Yeah.
blew my effing mind as well.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Eric also says, also, Kyle, have you watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot yet, you coward?
Do I have
think,
to?
I think I have to agree with Ben that it may not be the best movie for everyone, but I personally loved it. But Ben, can we agree that Kyle, as a father and a fan of Batman, would love the Ben Affleck scene? Am I the only weirdo who cried during that scene? It's my Holden Bolden with Holden McNeil.
Can I just watch that one scene? Can I just do
Probably, yeah.
that? All right, maybe I'll do
No,
that.
no. You need to watch Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
All right.
You haven't lived until we've done the commentary track for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Oh God. Okay.
Adam Cohen says, I love playing tabletop games, and I enjoy playing a variety. We even have a games library here in Tallahassee where I can rent games instead of having to buy them to try out. Yeah, same here in Minnesota. It's very cool. It's All Systems Go does that, which is great. The problem with new tabletop games, though, is having to learn the rules of every new game. It can be a bit overwhelming with some of even the medium-heavy rules. Some of the rule books are written very poorly, and often YouTube videos don't help very much. Do you have any strategies for learning new tabletop games?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it ultimately is YouTube tutorials, but don't do the. If you really want to learn a game, look for there are specific ones where they just teach the rules and don't go by ones that are also reviews, because the reviews just
Right.
try and give you a kind of an overview of what's going on, whereas I want to see
Look up how to play. Yeah.
yes how to
Right.
play. I think there's one guy, I want to say his name is John Gets Games or something like that. Sorry, I don't have the exact one, but there are a couple of YouTubers who are really good at just doing those specific ones. And also check in the rule book. A lot of publishers are starting to create like their own tutorials, or they'll have apps that will teach you how to do them.
Yeah.
and they'll usually mention that in rule books.
And overall, this is a lesson for me that I need to remind myself of. It's be patient. Like there's been almost every one of my favorite games, honestly, I've started out trying to learn and thought, well, F this. I'll never learn this. I hate it. I don't like it. And it's like, oh yeah, you idiot. It's just every time. It's the oldest song and dance in the book, as they say. It's just every time I think I don't like this, and then I play a couple games like, oh no, turns out I love this game. I just needed to have that ounce of patience within my soul.
Yeah, you got to have that practice game where you start actually going through things instead of just trying to learn from the manual.
Take it. I mean, the way I learn, I'm terrible at absorbing information from reading rules. Like just rules do not teach me how the game actually works. I need to like put the pieces down and like run through a very basic game.
And I love tabletop games that have like the simple shortcut of just steps 1 through 5 and repeat. Like they don't need to be embarrassed about hiding that. Just put it on Front Street. Jacob Shoemaker is asking if you've played Wingspan, Jeffem.
I haven't. No,
Okay.
But that was a huge one from last year that everyone was losing their minds about.
Yeah, we
so-
should play it at some point.
Yep.
Phil S. says, simple question. For your physical game cases, if they have art printed on the inside of the case, do you flip the cover art? Or maybe the better question is, do you even still have physical games? I like physical games.
It's a great question.
I flip mine.
You flip yours? I did in the past, but now I'm a little bit hesitant.
I like,
I like to keep
consistent spines.
Yeah, a good consistent spine. Which reminds me,
That was another that we almost called MinnMax that, remember?
that's right. Yeah.
Good consistent spine.
Which reminds me, Patrick Polk says, "Hey everyone, I'm one of those old people. Congratulations, who still prefers physical media. Also, I really like good-looking typography. I was looking at my Switch games the other day, and I realized that the one I own with stylized typeface on the spine, the only Switch game with stylized typeface is
Binding of Isaac.
no, Super Bomberman R. That game kind of sucks. Why
But it has Pyramid Head in it.
That's right. That was so weird. Why does such a mediocre game get such special treatment? If only there were a recurring segment on the show to inform me about interesting aspects of otherwise unremarkable games. Yeah, I know.
You know, the real answer to that is because it was a launch title and there was probably no consistency yet. Like now, they probably request
wonder,
that you have a specific font or something.
Do you think it's a Konami thing, though? Because Konami has not released that many games on the Switch, so maybe that's a standard for them, but then nobody else? Did the Contra game?
Honestly, I think probably they knew that they had kind of a title that might not sell gangbusters, and so they just stylized it to make it stand out more.
Maybe.
But doesn't everybody want to do that?
I mean, maybe it was also during the time, like you were saying, where they could get away with it.
Yeah.
It turns out you can't easily
hard to
Google Contra Rogue Core Switch case spine very easily. But
Full box art, maybe? I don't know. Someone scanned it or something.
it's confusing.
Whatever. We should take a lot of time on it. It's really.
We can.
But I do also.
will.
I like physical games in general.
Beautiful. Lewis Kane says, do you prefer Schreier-style long reads of the ins and outs of big stories and shakeups in the game industry, or the bite-sized tweets you get from accounts like Wario64 and Nibellion? Gotta be honest, seeing it summed up in one or two tweets does a lot more for me than a massive article, but I do appreciate the work that goes in. Guess I'm a bad and lazy person? The combo. I like the abbreviated tweets from Jason Schreier linking to the long-form reads on Kotaku to learn all about it.
That you don't click into.
I read
No.
his.
Yeah.
Some of those I want to read, then I look at it and it's like, oh, this is way too long for a topic that I'm barely interested in. I just can't do it.
There's a place for both. And I think if you're not super invested into a topic, then the bite-sized tweets are fine. But I mean, otherwise, we can't just have one or the other. It just wouldn't work.
Lewis says, follow-up question if you're interested. I am. Why are there so few Schreier types in the games press? It seems really odd he's the one go-to scoops guy for what seems like the entire industry. Interesting question. I think other people do it, but he's definitely been the best over the last 5 years or so.
I mean, he's had the opportunity to do it consistently for a long time, which is rare for someone like, I would say, like an Imran would certainly have the potential to do work like Schreier if he, been able to stay in one place for a long period of time,
But I don't know if Imran's interested in that long form feature format.
But in terms of like contacts and stuff
angle.
like that, Imran is one of those guys who knows a lot of people who knows a lot of stuff that's going on in the background,
And the nice thing with Jason Schreier, too, is, he's been talking to so many devs for so long that he's just become the go-to guy. If you're a developer and it's like, this is kind of some shady practice, I like to leak it to somebody, which I think is how those discussions probably go internally. Then it's like, all right, I guess Jason Schreier's the person to go to, right?
Yeah,
he's built a little mini brand within Kotaku, which is really
he's
impressive.
earned that reputation, to be fair.
I love his long form.
Yeah, he does great
and
stuff.
I mean, Kotaku as an organization has allowed for that kind of position to exist. You know, a lot of it all comes down to what the organization wants. You know, like for us, it was a much shallower look at news and that tried to cover a lot of different things. And if we had a spot, like that, where it was like, okay, this is your job, you're the scoop guy, go out and find those scoops and write long form features on them, then you would have more people. But not a lot of outlets want to just fund that kind of person.
Like a lot of it comes down to money, and whether or not your outlet can withstand maybe being blacklisted or
that's 100%,
something like that. And Kotaku is one of those outlets that can definitely do that, and so they can afford to have a guy on their staff who is putting the majority of his effort behind those long form articles, which
sometimes being a little stinker.
Sometimes being a little stinker, but otherwise, like a lot of places have to do those shorter pieces because that's what makes them money. Like,
I think the blacklisting angle is really interesting because I mean, Kotaku is not relying heavily on publishers for access, previews, stuff like that. And when you're not dependent on that relationship, you're a little bit more free to be like, well, here's the truth. This is what developers are telling me. Let's blast it out there, right?
And I mean, we should also mention that like Mike Futter tried to do that for us for a long time. You know, like that
Former
was
news editor, yeah.
that was his interest, but he also had to manage that against what like management wanted, which was more covering everything. And he was kind of our news guy, so he really had to. I mean, he was burning the candle at both ends in terms of trying to chase those longer features and get those scoops, which he did a fair amount of, but it was against all the other work that he had to do, and which role, he had to serve two masters in that sense.
There's a lot of systemic forces kind of arrayed to cool that sort of reporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Roberto Zaya says, who's the biggest recurring bullet sponge character in video games? I still haven't seen a game that takes less than 50 bullets/arrows to kill a bear. Is bear just number one archetype for bullet sponge?
No, it's a fat man.
Fat man in armor?
Just not even necessarily in armor.
But what is a bear but a big fat man?
But could he beat a knight is the other question.
Yeah,
as well.
that's a very
But no,
important follow-up.
I would say it's the Juggernaut guy, which is kind of the fat guy, but also has that very like every game, no matter what franchise it is, it's always like big plated armor everywhere.
And then he has the minigun normally as well.
Yeah.
Stomps around. Yeah. God, what was that? Was it Control? There's some game I just played with that.
Yeah,
there's a
Control had
minigun,
a
big guy
minigun
with
guy.
armor. And
Okay,
Control, I think.
so
Yeah.
all right. So big fat guy with armor, potential minigun. That's beats a bear.
Which is unfortunate. Like it'd be nice if there was it'd be nice if like the most common representation of like a fat person in our games was not an enemy that you shoot a lot.
So you want more fat glass cannons?
I mean, I would like maybe more main characters that are fat.
It's also
Hang on.
It's
Let's
also
get back to
kind
that.
of
Okay.
it's also an absurd idea of like, well, yeah, the bigger the guy, the more bullets he's gonna take.
Good luck
It's
shooting
like,
through that fat.
Yeah, it's the armor. It's the armor. The armor can go on anyone.
Right.
You know?
Okay, fat main characters.
Yeah.
Overweight main characters. Let's really try and think. Because there's like the jokey, you could probably say, Pac-Man or something, right? But are there any...
I mean, outside of fighting games,
Fighting games is good.
Yeah. Let's say outside of fighting games. That's a
Yeah.
great suggestion, though. Hang on. We're going to sit here till we think of one.
What was that attack the weak point for massive damage game?
99
Genji?
Night? Oh.
I think Genji, one of the playable characters, was a large fellow.
One of the playable characters. I mean...
Yeah.
But
It was
again,
a
that kind of gets
third-person
into
action game, which is
Okay.
different genre at least.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that it's always offensive, no matter when it's represented.
Because
right?
you're usually like,
It's just a
this hot
joke.
dog
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, it's Fat Nathan Drake, right?
Right.
Oh, sure, yeah.
just
Which is like
that-
an unlockable
Yeah.
skin, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's usually played as a joke or like the weird justification that it takes more bullets to kill an enemy.
There's actually several presidential assassinations for Taft, but they just couldn't get through. They couldn't get through the fat.
They had to
That's
break
why
down
it was
the
so
armor
durable.
first.
That's right. Aaron Capo has a killer question. Says, "Who built the moon?" Does anyone want to take that one?
Is this a Destiny question?
I don't think so. But it
don't
is
know.
your destiny to answer this question, Jack. Yeah, I think, what was it? Some sort of meteor
got
hit the
stuck in
Earth,
the
and then the
orbit.
crap went around there?
The
mean,
crap went around there?
I mean,
Science?
I think the cow jumped over the moon and then it or whatever was the moon.
This sounds
and then
right. This
a bunch
sounds
of
right.
milk came out and it became cheese.
Yeah.
Speaking
so really
of-
cows.
Okay. Well, that's a nice segue. We have another question here, a very sexy question from Glenn Hawthorne saying, "Hey, Ben and the IT crowd. Sure. With this week being Valentine's Day, let's get romantic.
Oh no.
With a question and a challenge twosome," he says. Challenge twosome. Sounds about right. I don't know. Anyways,
There are
Glenn
4 of
says,
us.
first off, what is the cheesiest or cringiest thing you've ever done for a Valentine?
Man, I don't know.
I'm not answering that question.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
I wish I'm not trying to be coy. I'm not a very cheesy romantic person.
Even like in middle school.
I was going to say like elementary school when you had to, but that was just you got a Valentine for everyone with some candy. And
That
kind
was
of
really
passed
weird,
each
wasn't
other
it? And then
That
it's like,
was-
okay, you have the
yeah.
hearts with the love you on it and all that weird stuff.
Why? Like, why did we do that? Why was that a thing in school?
I don't know. This is a good reminder that I got to go get my kids some Valentine's to take to
they
school.
still do that?
Yeah, they just hand out cards with like Ninja Turtles on them or whatever.
That was really
cool.
stressful. It was like, okay, you have your crushes in elementary school, and now this one day is just going to be a lightning rod, like center point for. I just remember being so stressed out, like, oh, I gotta hand this card to Ashley Christensen. Oh God! Like,
And then
so
everybody else.
yeah, no, I actually batted all the other ones away. Eat my candy. Anyways, that's a very personal look. Then, let's see. Oh boy, my challenge as well is to come up with something to write on your profile page for a dating app to make it stand out. Now, this is a challenge. This is a tricky one.
Okay.
I have a great. My dating profile is great.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you want to? I won't make you read it, but suggestions.
I mean,
They could be broad or specific.
on my profile, I mentioned that I've seen every single Godzilla movie,
Very good.
and
Very
I promise that that's not going to change going forward, so they know that I'm consistent.
If new ones come out.
How
yeah.
was that last one? King of the Monsters? Is that what that was called?
It was everything I wanted from a Godzilla movie.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So good.
Yeah.
Better than 2014?
Oh, way better than 2014.
Really?
I hated the main character in the 2014 movie.
Because
Yeah.
it's not a giant lizard, right?
Well, I mean, like, you can do a movie where the main character isn't a giant lizard, which is basically what Shin Godzilla was.
Yeah.
Which was great. But the newest one, that one is just squarely about the monsters fighting, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
There were other themes in there somewhere, but it's basically it fulfilled like the childhood thing of mashing these action figures together.
Where does your love of giant monsters fighting? I mean, we all like it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're like, this is my jam is a very specific beat that I don't quite understand.
I mean, I think it sets the tone that I'm kind of a weird person.
Okay.
But also, like, it's very personal to me because, like, my dad would go on a lot of business trips when I was a kid, and one of the things he brought back when I was like 5 was a VHS copy of Godzilla versus King Kong.
Ooh, that's fun.
Oh.
Which
Okay.
is a fun Godzilla movie. And like when you're a little kid, it's like one of the coolest things to watch these giant monsters, like, and you're not seeing it anywhere else, right?
Power Rangers.
I mean, like, kind of Power Rangers, but like in Power Rangers, they're not like destroying cities.
Right.
Like, they are giant monsters, but they're not like blowing up entire apartment complexes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from there, there's like that weird kind of family connection. And,
Right.
Then, there's also sunk cost fallacy. Like, I've seen all of them, and
Just
so
gotta
many
get
of them
it
are really
rolling.
bad.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, but
Yeah.
beyond that several paragraph description of why you love
It's like 2 sentences.
Okay, but are there other lessons or specific pinpoints on a dating profile?
I mean, honestly, just talk about whatever makes you weird and like
interesting.
makes you stand out, because
But not too much.
Not too much, but like everyone's like, hey, I like
Traveling.
the ocean and traveling and
sucks.
like it's
In
just,
the office.
and an office quote. Like,
The thing is, from my experience with it, is just like give people something to hang their coat on. Give them an entry point. Just like make as many handholds as possible. Don't just say, I like podcasts. Say, this is the best podcast of all time, and this episode is the greatest. Or just like come up with opinions just so somebody has an opening other than,
right.
hey, show me your ass.
Yeah. Honestly, I
Is
wish
that how
more
this
people.
works? I've never been in this world, so I'm learning a lot today.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Like that. It doesn't go well for them.
Yeah, that's a good time. Anyways,
Sounds
Caleb,
like a good time.
yeah, you got to check it out.
Yeah.
Caleb Bone says, on the topic of getting better, what is something... Oh boy, do you guys want to do this one? This is a weird one. What is
We don't know
something?
yet.
What is something you know or have observed about one of the other MinnMax hosts that they don't know about themselves, but they should know?
Something they...
Is this just asking us to neg each other?
Yeah, I guess so. There's a lot of quirks. Usually they're negative. I don't know you as well, Jack, but for these two, I think of like, oh, I noticed like little quirks, but it's weird to call it out. Like I notice when your breathing changes, Kyle, when you're less confident on a topic or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can hear it in editing too.
Yeah, you like to call us out live, like you, telling Serial maybe he talks too fast and putting him on the spot. Oh, you did?
Yeah, you dick.
I don't know. Can you cut this out too?
No.
Oh no.
This is what they want.
Yeah, there's something that Jeff doesn't know about himself.
He makes good faces.
Yeah, he does ham it up for the camera, maybe more. Yeah.
He's the greatest pratfall comedian of all time. I don't think he
That is true.
realizes
That
it.
is true.
Are you?
Yep.
Well, he doesn't know, so don't ask him.
Then why are you nodding your head?
What I talked about in the MinnFax episode, Kyle, where people made me watch your YouTube video from 2006 that you made
How
with
many
your
of those
buddy.
did you watch?
Just the one, but it was
Okay,
unforgettable.
okay.
But
Good.
in that, I
That's what I
talked
was going
about,
for.
and I think I've talked to you about it too, but I think you're quietly more confident and hammy. That's a twofer.
Yeah.
I think then
You talk to me
people
about it a
know-
lot. It bothers you how confident I am.
It does bother me.
You are crazy confident.
Really?
I don't know.
It doesn't
I
make
don't know
sense.
anyone else who would have gotten on camera and done their own attempt to recreate the opera scene from Fifth Element.
Yeah,
That's for
And you
charity.
did that.
Yeah, I will.
For
I-
charity,
I
for the
think- I don't know if I've
kids.
ever said this before, but like I will say like on camera, I'm happy to do embarrassing things and have fun. You know what I mean? Be silly. But that is the Hanson found the line. I think it was Hanson and my sister came up with this idea. Like found the line where I was truly embarrassed. Like
Really?
if that gets brought up and people like pull like, oh, you should see this video, Kyle. Like I don't
no.
want to see it. Like I don't want to
Oh,
be near
no.
it. Like it is maybe the one instance where I'm like genuinely embarrassed about
Really?
it. So
And what was it?
I had to put on blue face paint makeup and a Sonic hat, and I had on a blue shirt
Oh
on.
no, I know that. That's what you're saying you were embarrassed about?
Yeah, you act like this is not an embarrassing thing. And singing the Fifth Element opera?
Yeah. That was terrible.
That was awful.
I've seen it multiple times. But yeah. I didn't realize that you were embarrassed about it.
I think it is the one like thing that I'm like I get uncomfortable about when people like pull it up on video and like.
Oh.
And here it is.
But no, I think it's like connected in that MinnFax idea that we talked about with the old clip of just like you like being a little hammier or like more
sure.
attention seeking than people would expect.
I guess so.
the idea.
Yeah, less so than in the past, perhaps.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm apparently insanely confident, which news to me.
Yeah. No, come on. You know.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
Come on, man. Chris Galar says, with Survivor returning this week, would you be interested in recording a short snippet with your thoughts on each week's episode? I love Survivor, but there's so many Survivor podcasts out there. I didn't really want to do it. But it would be fun to do like a Max Spoilers at some point.
I'd
for
be a
like,
guest on one.
what's that?
Be a guest on one of those Survivor podcasts.
That's a good idea.
Have 'em call you up.
Okay.
I
I've
don't-
seen
I
the
don't
show
follow
too. Yeah, there's probably somebody. Hey, Rob. Ryan Basadny says, hello to Hank and the Bensons. You got it. 2019 was a big year for career changes. I ended a 7-year run as a stay-at-home dad and started over on a new career path.
Nice.
As you all have had big changes in your careers, what have been your biggest hardships and best successes? Any advice for big, abrupt career changes?
I'll let you know when I complete a career change.
Once one happens.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question because I don't have the confidence to answer that question confidently.
All right. That's
I mean, I guess don't compare yourself to other people. Like that's a quick way to feel really. Can I swear on this podcast?
yes.
It's a quick way to feel really shitty about yourself. Like just don't give in to that temptation because
Of just like the age thing of like, where was this person at this age and that type of thing?
yeah, like so much of our culture and encourages us to compare ourselves not only to celebrities but also to like people that we know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everyone is on a different journey, and it, don't compare yourself to someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, like, and it sounds very generic, but take a look at what your goals really are and what your fears are. Money does not play as big of a part in it as I think we give it in terms of like the importance. Like that's one thing that I have noticed, and especially as I get older, like my goal, I always saw it as being like, I want to retire early. Like that was my goal, and that's what I was working towards. And if your answer is what you want out of a career is retiring, like you are definitely doing it wrong. because you are pushing the best years of your life. You are trying to push that, or like the best experiences of your life, you are pushing into the worst years of your life. If you are waiting until you are 65 to start going on vacations and to start taking up different hobbies, like you should be doing those things now, and you should be working towards whatever your career is. And we are all in different situations and have different pressures and whatever, and those change all the time. But like, figure out what is actually going to make you happy and work that into what you are doing now with your time. And the same thing with fears. Like, I think when I started thinking about careers, and every time I think like, I got to get back to a full-time job, like I need that salary. When I actually sat down and looked at what is my fear here, like why do I think I need to do this thing so badly, where I'm working 5 days a week, in like 8 hours a day or more. Like when I really thought about it, my fear was I'm going to get to a place where I'm 80 years old and homeless. Is ultimately what it comes down to. If I'm 80 years old and I have to like downsize where I'm living because I don't have a lot of money, I honestly don't care about that.
Right.
Like my wife's biggest dream is living in a tiny home. So like that fear is like her dream, and I would totally be fine about that. Like it is this irrational fear that I've been working towards, of like I'm going to end up on the street someday. And when you actually boil it down like that, like the possibility of that is super low, and and the much greater fear, like the bigger possibility, is that I'm going to spend the best years of my life with my nose to the grindstone, like working and pushing out all the things that I want to do to where I'm too old to actually do them. And so like definitely just take the time and actually assess like what do I really want to do, what's really going to make me happy, and what am I really afraid of. And work towards those things.
That's really good advice. Like, I don't want to get too personal here, but like,
here we go.
Like when it came to like transitioning, I had to get to a point where I kind of had that same realization where it's like, the reason I'm not doing this is to make other people more comfortable, and by sacrificing my own happiness, and just hitting the point where, no, I'm going to recognize what is going to make me happy and feel complete now, instead of trying to find that in 20 years.
Did you think about that? Like, I can put this off for a while.
I mean, 100%. And I just reached a point where I was like, I can't do that. Yeah.
And Fam has a killer follow-up question saying, what's in your backlog right now?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay,
half the table here.
Fix that. I guess in my mind, I still have like Division 2 in my backlog, but it's like, oh, that's right. I was purified by the coming of the new year, so I don't got to worry about that. Kakarot. I need to get back to Kakarot. I really enjoyed it.
Resident Evil 2 still from last year.
Wow.
I need to go back to. And Control, which I have Kyle's
you
copy.
still have my copy.
Play that.
I have some that just kind of linger there for a long time. Like, for some reason, whenever I think of backlog, I think of Bastion.
Oh,
like I don't know why. I don't know why that specific one, because I think it just seems doable, and it's just a matter of me like sitting down.
Oh,
and
you
doing
haven't
it.
played Bastion?
Yeah, I haven't played Bastion. Like I should go play that one.
Yeah, it'll take you like 6 hours.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah,
that's like one night of sleep.
Oh yeah. Luigi's Mansion. I'm borrowing from a friend too, and I need to play more of that.
Speaking of Switch, the Platinum
Astral Chain.
Yeah, I want to play that.
You won't. You will never play Astral Chain. Over
Witcher
my
3,
dead body.
Witcher 3 Switch is on my backlog. That cartridge is in the Switch at least, so progress.
You're getting there.
It's close.
Evan McHugh says, hey, not going to lie, when the channel first started, I thought the be good part was cheesy. Is that how we phrased it?
Yeah.
Be good. Like, wait, I do say that at the end of the podcast. But it turns out it's one of my favorite parts of the conversation. Last week's discussion about depression was interesting to hear, and it reminded me of all the times I've used video games to cope with depression. Do you think it's okay to get obsessed with a big game to distract yourself from depression, or does it foster a cycle of isolation, more depression? I'm going with the latter, personally. Chris, where you all land?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Like it's always hard to be like, I know the answer, but like I fear that idea of like I play games to ignore everything else around me. And it's like I don't know if that's great. You know what I mean? Like,
But I think it's a lot of playing games. Even personally, it's like
Yeah.
I just need to.
But even if it's
get
like
away.
politics or like bumming you out and stuff, and it's just like totally trying to forget all of that. Like, I don't know, feels like dangerous to me, but I think the trick is to try to just enjoy games, but don't use them as a way to like totally close yourself off, you know?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
that's my kind of approach to it, you know?
I would say there's a differentiation between like using games to take a break from something versus distract from something. And like we all need those times where we can just have a breather, but it shouldn't be your main way of coping with something. And, you know, like you need to work through your problems, you know.
Yes,
but you
you're
can
not-
take a break from them sometimes while you're doing that.
Right. Even if you're playing Katamari, it's not going to greatly alleviate your depression if you're just sitting by yourself. Like, you know, the wisest man on earth, we think we can all agree, is Dr. Drew. But he had a good suggestion one time where he talked about, like, oh, you can't change your brain chemistry on your own. Like, the core design of human beings is you need to interact with another living being to change the way that you're thinking. You can't change the way you think in your own room by yourself.
Right. And there, like, even if you're talking with people, there is something about physically being present with other people that actually gets your brain in gear.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think there's any problem with pursuing something that makes you happy while you're depressed. Like, if gaming makes you happy, go ahead and give yourself license to do it, and throw in other things that make you happy too. Whether that's like going outside and just taking a walk around the block, or like going to see your mom, or calling up an old friend from high school and like going to hang out and get drinks or something.
Yeah.
Like,
a little outside of the comfort zone.
yeah, things that will push you but also will fulfill you. And gaming can definitely be a part of that.
Yeah. Let's see. Brian Brown says, "Hello, everybody. Recently, I was playing the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC that I was extremely disappointed in because the series has still not wrapped up after the story's been going on for so long." Which, by the way, Kyle, do you remember weeks ago when you were joking about that Resetera thread that said, "So is Final Fantasy 13
Yeah, I've heard.
dead?" It turns out.
So I think is Versus 13 coming out or what? Was like the Resetera thread.
But I think that was tied to Kingdom Hearts 3's DLC.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Okay.
After we talked about it, yeah, people were sending me messages about it. Yeah, I guess there's like you play through like a whole sequence that's like Versus 13. Or something?
You play through
Spoilers.
you play through the
You want to bleep that?
Yeah.
you play through the like original demo of Versus 13 as Sora.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
It also, I think I've told you many times that like even though Kingdom Hearts does nothing for you, like you should watch the beginning of the introduction to entering the Toy Story world. You should check that out because I think even that is a factor, right, in all of it.
Weird. Anyways, Brian's wondering, hey, has an entry in a franchise ever been bad enough or disappointing enough that it killed your love for the entire series? Has one entry killed your love for an entire series?
Yep. Catherine.
Oh, sure.
boy.
Yeah. The new
So
one, right?
did that
Yeah.
kill all Persona then?
I might one day get around to playing Persona 5, but like
Okay.
I haven't played any of the Persona games. Like, and part of it is I do like Catherine on some level, but the way it treats specifically its trans characters
Right.
is just not great.
And is this
At
was
all.
specifically for the re-release?
No,
the
for
original
both.
was
For
okay.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the original, like one of the main group of friends is trans, and the entire group just on her the entire time. Like very like it's subtle, and like it's kind of treated as a reveal that she's trans, and then in the new version they got weird with it
Yeah.
too, and it's not great.
Oh boy.
Yeah, sure.
So just like Atlas in your mind, just like, ugh.
It's not Atlas specifically. It's specifically the director of Catherine, who also directed Persona 5.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And yeah, there's just some problems with LGBTQ representation in the games that he oversees.
Yeah.
And it like to the point where it seems kind of weird.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Sort of in a less like personal way. There's like the entry that's just not as good as the previous ones. You know, like
Oh yeah.
like Dead Space 3 or something. But like that certainly didn't.
If a new Dead Space was announced, though, you'd be all over it.
Like it didn't really. I mean, I'm also that person that like that idea of like George Lucas ruined my childhood by changing Star Wars. Like I don't buy into that stuff at all. Like those individual like versions of media like exist without the things that come after it. You know what I mean? Like having a sequel be disappointing doesn't make the original.
Yeah, retroactively ruining something that you enjoyed doesn't really happen for me either. I would say Mass Effect Andromeda would be my game. It doesn't affect how I feel about the trilogy at all, but if a new Mass Effect game came out, I'd be a lot more skeptical about it, and I would want to know, how they're fixing what they did with Andromeda before I got excited about it.
Yeah.
Going to a new galaxy. Second one.
Zach says, something I wasn't entirely clear on last week. Was Anna just a one-off guest, or was she there because of Hyperdot, or was she officially a new cohort, or what's going on with her? She was a guest, but hopefully she's going to swing by in the future. Yeah, she's welcome to swing by whenever. Yeah. So somewhere in between there. But not related to Hyperdot. That was just a weird coincidence. Fred DeNovo, killer question, says, best sitcom intro song. The answer is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but I'm open to your silver medals. Thank you, Fred.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is very good.
What is that one like? Blood, Sweat, and Tears?
Oh, it is kind of like Blood, Sweat, and Tears. No.
Okay.
It was Cheers, right?
Cheers, Cheers is good.
Have you seen that? Oh, there's a stupid YouTube video where it's the opening of Cheers. I need to find this. You guys debate amongst yourselves.
Well, I mean, right now, Tim Curry is screaming Family Matters, right?
Oh, that's right. He is shrieking that.
Actually, a recent one, it's not a sitcom, but I argue frequently to nobody in particular that the Disney Channel show Star versus the Forces of Evil has the best intro and intro song of any animated show since like Ninja Turtles. Like it's.
Is it a sitcom though?
No, it's not a sitcom.
Okay.
That's but
disqualified.
But it's funny. It's a funny show.
Would it defeat a knight?
Oh yes, they have the power of magic. And Star versus, you want to do this Star versus the Forces of Evil?
I can't remember if you hated it, Kyle, but the Kimmy Schmidt song.
Oh, who would hate that? That's
it's the best.
amazing.
What are you talking about?
I think pretty good.
I think that
throwing me under the bus, pretending I hate this amazing song.
Then it must have been Tim Curry.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Probably because he loves Family Matters so much, and he realized that it had been dethroned.
I know. I feel like it's a little bit overdone at this point, but even like you got to give it up. I think the American Office has a wonderful, very catchy intro.
Yeah.
It's very pleasant.
Have you ever that Kimmy Schmidt one? They have like because the whole idea is a newscast that like they songified, but you can find the sort of original newscast and the term "unbreakable" that is like the hook of the whole chorus of the song is just him talking about a pair of sunglasses he found that are unbreakable. It's such a great punchline.
So stupid.
Did you find this Cheers thing?
I did, but other nominees: Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh,
Always delightful.
Yeah.
Just this last summer, I sat at my lake place and watched an entire DVD's worth of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was very fun. Friends.
Yeah.
Also, I know not the coolest move. Intro to Roseanne, I think, is very fun. Just like the spinning camera around the family and stuff like that. I think Roseanne's flawless.
Nothing to criticize.
So it's a YouTube video from Neil Cicierega. Who does a lot of stuff.
guy, yeah.
Do you know this guy?
No.
I think I might know him.
So it's just the Cheers intro.
It's still showing just the regular Cheers intro, by the way, as this music plays in the background.
Oh no.
Oh no! That's it. Anyways, we'll put that in the show description for you. Okay, last one is Stud Muffin. Says, hey, everyone knows the rules of HQ Trivia, right? You have 10 seconds to write down your answer to a multiple choice question. One strike and you're out. Last one standing wins a bubbly out of the mini fridge. I see you know our setup quite well here, Stud Muffin. That's complicated. Let's just go around the horn and do some good old-fashioned game trivia here. Ready?
Okay.
Question 1. Jack.
Yes.
Which button is not found on a Wii Remote / Nunchuck pair? Is it plus, X, or C?
X.
Correct. Way to go. Very well done.
Keeping score on this? Or?
Yeah, we're all cool. Jeff,
Yeah.
how many years separate the NES and Wii re-releases. I'm sorry, the NES and Wii releases of A Boy and His Blob? How many years are between it? Is it 19 years, 22 years, or I'm sorry, 19, 24, or 29?
19, 24, or 29. Wii U release?
Wii release
Wii.
of Boy and His
Wii
Blob.
release. 19, 22, or 29?
19, 24, or 29?
24.
Incorrect. That's embarrassing, Jeff. This is embarrassing. The
29?
answer is 19.
I got a way easier question.
Kyle
Yeah, you
Hilliard. What is the Metacritic score for Portal? Is it 80, 85, or 90?
85.
It is 90.
Good. That's the right answer. I was just low. I was actually.
Kyle just doesn't have faith in people.
Jack, how many units did the Sega Dreamcast sell?
Oh no.
2.5 million, 9.1 million, or 23.2 million?
I'm gonna go with the lowest one.
2.5 million? Incorrect.
Dang it.
9.1 million. Jeff Marchiafava, which Mario Kart title did Retro Studios contribute development resources to? Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart DS, or Mario Kart 7?
DS.
Incorrect. Mario Kart 7, ladies and gentlemen. Mario Kart 7.
Wait, which is that? The 3DS
Yeah,
one? Oh,
yeah.
see, that was my because I knew it was one of the handheld ones.
Yeah.
I would have gotten it wrong.
Kyle, the
Yes.
Oculus Quest had which code name? Santa Cruz, Santa's Sleigh, or Santa Hat?
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz! Way to go! Jack, what torture did a user of the original N-Gage device have to subject themselves to in order to insert a game? Power
answer to
cycle the
this.
device, leaving it off for 30 seconds, remove the plastic cover and the battery compartment, or hold down on the D-pad while inserting the cartridge.
Remove the batteries.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just change the
Insane.
game.
I didn't have it, but I vaguely remember it having to do
Boy,
with
you
the
missed out.
batteries.
Yeah,
On
that
that-
Red Faction port was out of this
And
world.
then Tomb Raider, you could press a button so she would just run automatically. It made the game harder.
Oh,
Didn't
my
they do
God.
a full Oblivion port to the end?
Well,
There's an original Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah. Which we once tried. We tried to break out once at Game Informer to see if there was any way for us to replay it.
Yeah.
There was not.
Jeff Marchiafava,
Yeah.
which of the following, this is up your alley, is not a Pac-Man ghost?
Oh my god.
Inky, Clyde, or Winky?
Oh,
Winky.
Correct.
Come on.
All right,
that could have been a lot harder.
Kyle. This
Yes.
is a savage question according to Stud Muffin here. If you've played HQ, you remember.
Okay.
On the original Xbox controller, which button was closer to the bottom of the gamepad?
Oh my god.
Is it black, white, or neither?
I'm going to say black. Oh, wait.
On the original Xbox
On the
controller.
original one, I think it's the A button. Or down on the D-pad.
So are you going with neither?
Wait, hold on.
Is it black, white, or neither?
Oh, neither.
It's neither.
Incorrect. It's black.
Dang it.
On
Okay,
the
so
Duke, the black was lower, but they reversed this in later iterations.
I had it backwards. Okay.
All right, last one, Jack. According to a 2019 Forbes study, how much time does the average gamer spend playing video games per week? 3.6 hours, 7.7 hours, or 14.1 hours?
I'm gonna go with 7.7.
Correct. I think Jack's the
There we
winner at
go.
this point. Way to
Oh,
go.
on higher.
Thanks, Stud Muffin. What do you guys like for MinnBox entry of the week?
High school mascot fighting.
Yeah,
Do we all like high school mascot
Yeah.
fighting?
it was pretty fun.
If the knight wins, then yes.
Oh wait, there's a lot of really good
Got
ones
the
this
claws.
week. All right, let's go high school mascot fighting that is Fabled Ursa.
Nice. Good job.
Well
Fabled
done.
Ursel.
I Am 8-Bit will ship you out the vinyl soundtrack for Sword and Sorcery. That's sweet. And if
Good
you want
one.
to actually have
Looks
that,
really
you can go
cool.
to iam8bit.com and enter MinnMax as a promo code. Let them know that we sent you.
You.
Yeah.
The discount.
We're going to work on that.
The discount code is MinnMax, no space, right?
That's
Two
right.
N's?
You
Okay.
got it. You guys ready for a little something we call Get a Load of This?
Yes.
yeah, I've got a load. No.
You got it.
No.
All right, Jack, we will make you go first because you're our guest, but you will be going next, so get ready. Jeff Marchiafava.
Hey, get a load of this. So this is my most general one, and I apologize for that. People may already know this because it's now an HBO show. Mm-hmm. But it blew my mind when I saw a random news story about it. You know, the McDonald's Monopoly game.
Yes.
That went on for like 20 years or whatever. Yeah, and you could win a bunch of different prizes, including like your dream home or $1 million, and you had to get all the different little tabs from the Monopoly board. And it turns out it was rigged the entire time, and you had absolutely no ability to win it.
Wasn't there some weird story where like somebody in the factory was like pulling the winning pieces?
So apparently it was an security guy who worked with some firm that McDonald's hired, and he just went by Uncle Jerry.
Uncle Jerry.
I hope they didn't hire him thinking, oh yeah, Uncle Jerry's real good. But apparently between 1989 and 2001, he stole every single big ticket sticker for the game, and he was giving them to like family members, and then he was selling them, and eventually the mafia got involved with it.
What?
And it went on for 12 years for a total of $24 million worth of stuff that he gave out. And it became like a huge FBI, like the FBI had an entire sting against it, and they finally caught him. And all of this came out like 20 years ago. Like there was a news story that came out and said it happened, but the story was published on let me make sure here, September 10th, 2001.
That's right.
The day before
right.
September 11th, and so it was just completely buried, and people didn't know about it.
That's wild.
And like that, this may be age dependent, but that totally blew my mind when I saw it, because that was such a huge thing in the 90s. And I remember we always played that game, and it was like, oh, you're just one sticker away from the big one, and turns out
you weren't.
Everyone was. Yeah.
So he took every single
apparently like the houses and everything, and he would tell people like, you got to go through someone like a family member or something out of state, and so like the FBI like did this big sting to try and like track down every single person who also like committed this crime.
How did that not raise any bells? Like Uncle Jerry must have been like
he was good at it apparently,
solid snaking his way through the facility.
But it just went on too long, they said, and so I guess
too long.
Yeah, so HBO is doing like an entire mini series on
Is
it.
it a documentary or?
Yeah,
it's a documentary.
and it's being produced by Mark Wahlberg for some reason.
Okay.
Which
I can't think of anybody else.
But apparently, like McDonald's actually like contributed to both the series and the FBI sting, and there were some other like twists and stuff which I won't say. But the show's called McMillions apparently.
There we
and
go.
It goes through the entire drama. But
Love it.
All right.
Jack?
Today
Yes.
happens to be the 30th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers 3.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, weird.
Yep.
Cool.
How about
That's
that?
cool. I'm into
I
it.
didn't know how involved my fact had to be.
Oh,
You
no.
put
to be
this-
fair,
I blow it every
the story.
No, that's
yeah.
a cool. I totally missed that. So
Yeah.
That
and
is
Wednesday.
Get a load of that.
there you go. Yeah.
I forgot to put.
I was going to say you were disqualified, but I guess we'll
Do you all
count that.
feel different about games that released before or after you were born? Like there's something that makes me happy to be like, oh, I was 2 when that game came out.
Makes you happy?
Yeah, I think so.
You like knowing that you were alive when
I feel
something
more
released for
connected
sale?
to it compared to Super Mario 1, where it's like, I was dead when that came out. It's just like,
Yeah. I mean, the line sort of
guess.
starts at 85.
Right.
Like really, like for like Mario Brothers and everything. Like, and I was born in 85. So
Oh, there we go.
I guess Pac-Man came out before I was born. So.
Is that where your red hair came from? It's kind of a subtle homage to Mario.
Pac-Man? Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool,
How'd you
man.
know?
That's really cool. What's your load of this?
Let's see this. This was just so there's the Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet show, which is
Yeah.
like the Rob McElhaney,
Yeah.
which like I haven't watched. I don't know anything. People seem to be pretty generally positive on it, but he's done a couple interviews about it, and I'll see if we can get this to work. But he explains kind of like. He tells his story often about like Ubisoft approached him to make a show. He wasn't really interested, but they kind of like were like, oh no, come on, we want you to come to our studios and see stuff. And so he explains like the thing that made him want to do it while he was visiting a Ubisoft studio here.
And I see this guy.
So this is an interview with KFC Radio,
Of course.
his Twitter account.
He's dressed head to toe in black, right? And he's got these rings,
This is
and
McElhaney.
this long beard, and he's got a cane, but he's got to be 35 years old.
weird.
And he's not limping or anything. And the cane is just like an accoutrement, right? And he's just like walking, and I'm like, oh, hey, man. He's like, oh. And I'm like, so what do you do? He goes, I'm a creative director. And I was like, what's a creative director? And he sort of like looked out into the heavens, or the fucking fluorescent lights, and he goes, brother, I build worlds. I was like, hey, can you excuse me for 1 second? I went outside. I was like, beep, pop, 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 beep. Charlie, we're doing a show about these motherfuckers.
So
That's crazy.
that's interesting. So obviously he is talking about. Oh shoot, where is it? Okay.
Yes, Ubisoft's sword fighting game.
Yeah.
Why am I
Jason
For
Vanderberg, right?
For Honor, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, Jason Vanderberg, director of For Honor. If you've Rob McElhaney described that guy
Yes.
in full,
Mhm.
and so Jason Vanderberg tweeted out, "Hey Rob McElhaney, very much looking forward to your new show." Also, and then he has a GIF of Moana saying, "You're welcome." Like basically, and so that's all funny and interesting. But
Yeah.
McElhaney replied to that tweet and said, "Ha, I was not. We've never met, but I'd like to. Ian is an amalgam of a bunch of creative directors I met, plus a little of my own flair and a ton of creative license. But your beard game puts mine to shame, so some pointers would be appreciated." So basically, he's saying that it's like, that it wasn't him.
That's nonsense.
At Ubisoft?
Yeah. There's no way it was not Jason Vanderberg.
Well, no, he's a liar.
Yeah, or he just met so many people that he just doesn't remember, or like...
No, that's
That's
gotta,
him trying to cover his legal
yeah,
butt.
that's,
You think
that's
so?
like
Like
the
legal?
whole network thing of like,
okay,
oh,
yeah, I
well,
guess
no,
so.
this isn't based on you.
But
Right,
like,
right.
who else
It's never
could
been
it
based
be?
on the city of Philadelphia.
A guy with a beard and like with a cane
Yes.
who would say something like, "I create worlds." Like,
Yeah,
there's
man.
no way
Yeah.
that was anybody. but
That's
him.
so weird. Hey, get a load of this, Jeff.
Oh, get a load of that. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
think I
by
said
the
it.
way, no, you're disqualified. Sorry.
That's right. I was listening to this interview recently with astronaut Garrett Reisman, and he,
As one does.
That's right. And he was talking about when you're at the International Space Station, NASA, to raise morale, asks you like, "Hey, is there any celebrity you want to talk to? Because we'll just call them up."
Okay.
And so he's like, "Yeah, I really want to talk to was it Ron Moore, like the Battlestar Galactica creator, because he really liked the show." So like, okay, no problem. And so they just called him up and talked. But can you imagine that? Just like I couldn't find any record of this, but he was at the space station. He said like NASA totally does it because of course, like who would turn down
Yeah,
a call from the
right.
International Space Station?
When NASA calls you, you pick up the phone
Yes.
and you talk to whoever they tell you to.
Exactly. And then it's like the question is, who would you call if you could call anybody?
You can call anybody?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was really thinking about it for a long time last night. I was like, I guess Spielberg is the person.
Oh, sure.
Because it's like, oh, you could go like Miyamoto. Like I've talked to all my like gaming legends, my gaming heroes, but I guess Spielberg's probably
Would
top
we
of the
be
heap,
in
right?
space too?
That's right.
Okay.
Very important.
Well, I want to know what we would talk about. And I
Right,
assume
right,
it would
right.
be around being in space.
Aliens and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You would have something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would be interested in talking to you. But so then I was trying to find a record of this online of like what NASA calls this program, other celebrities that have been called from space. And I find this NPR article called How to Dial 911 from Space. It turns out that in order to make a call from the International Space Station, you have to dial 9 to get out, and then 011 for an international line. But because of that, an astronaut at some point accidentally called 911.
Perfect.
And then
boy.
panicked and just like hung up. And then NASA sent him an email and said, "Hey, did you just call 911 from the space station?" Like,
What's going on up there?
Exactly.
What is
exactly.
what does the a caller ID look like on that?
Yeah, I have no idea. And
Space
then
station.
Tim Peake, who's an astronaut, it was in this article. He tweeted out a while ago and he said, I'd like to apologize to the lady I just called by mistake, saying, "Hello, is this planet Earth? Not a prank call, just a wrong number." So look at these astronauts just dialing wrong numbers
Well,
from the
if
space
the
station.
number is 9011, I kind of get it. You know?
Oh, yeah. What a silly world.
Real quick, just as an additional element of my get a load of this, I just want to point out
What is
that
this?
at Chris_Carl4,
back.
he sent me that interview. So I just wanted to give him
okay.
thank you for sending me that interview.
Yes, very
I
exciting.
feel like I was poorly prepared for this segment of the show compared to the
fine.
rest
That's
of
how
the
it goes.
stories.
That's
Ours,
always
like,
how it goes.
did start off as like, it was a funny tweet, but now they're sort of like growing and expanding.
we should
as they're
probably
going.
tighten it up a little bit in some ways.
yeah.
But
Never.
anyways, thank you for getting a load of us, everybody, and listening to this extra long episode of the MinnMax Show. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please share it with a friend. We'd appreciate it. Be sure to check out The Deepest Dive. It is 6 hours of what I consider the best, most thorough discussion in podcast form about Chrono Trigger that has ever taken place on the internet. You can confidently say that, right?
So.
Yeah.
Well, have me say it.
Yeah, exactly. But please check that out. Leave some feedback. Otherwise, if you're listening to this early, check out our tabletop stream for Patreon supporters going
right.
live on Thursday. And the archive will be there if you can't make it live, anything like that. But Jack, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for coming
Thank
by.
you for having me.
Anything you want to plug one more time? Or
Surreal's Twitter account, maybe?
You can check out my podcast, The Best Games Period. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/bestgamesperiod. Wow. And you should also check out a podcast by Moonlight that I make with former Game Informer intern Marcus Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
And where we are doing a Sailor Moon watch-along.
oh boy.
Which is quite interesting since neither of us have seen Sailor Moon before.
Yeah, what's it called?
A podcast by Moonlight.
A podcast by
a good
Moonlight. Very
Yeah.
interesting. I assume it's some clever play on something in Sailor
Speaking
Moon.
of best
Sailor
theme
Moon.
songs,
It's
Sailor
really
Moon.
up
It's
there.
pretty good.
And for all those Serial fans out there, he is alive and well. He'll be back next week to talk about his big trip to Japan and everywhere else. But until next week, be good, have fun, let's go.